And, well, you know the drill. Here comes the intro in 3, 2, 1.
If they were needed for the war effort, then the quartermaster would have locked the door or at least placed a guard, wouldn't he?
Hello and welcome to Core. This is Core for December 1st, 2022. I'm Scott Johnson with Bo Schwartz and John Jagger. We're here to talk about the world of video games. By the way, that right there, he is my salt spire of Darktide, this guy.
If they were needed for the war effort...
That guy. He's great.
The veteran in Darktide?
Yeah, he's awesome. If they needed a thing, he just got kind of a haughty sort of salt spire, Vermintide kind of vibe to him. I like it a lot. Anyway, we're going to do a show, and it's Thursday, so that means time for Core. And real quick, for two things, wanted to get out of the way. One, huge thanks to everybody who's been posting their stuff from their various podcast players. They all released their top 10 listened to things of the year. And we are on a lot of lists, like in the top 3 of people's lists, and a lot of top ones.
I see a lot of number ones, yeah. Especially most minutes listened to.
Yeah. You couldn't help it. You listen to an episode or two, we're going to be up there.
Yeah, so that's really cool to see and made me happy to see all that floating around today. So thank you for those, and feel free to post those. We're always happy to see that stuff. And then the second thing I was going to say is all this Snap Talk we've had on the show, Marvel Snap Talk we've had back and forth. I finally got a little short interview, about 25 minutes or 20 minutes or so, with Brian Ibbett, a super fan of the game, a guy who has every card and has had him since the beta before the game even launched, and by now he's probably got all the new stuff that came out today. Anyway, we did a little short interview, and I put it up on the feed just for fun, just for a little extra.
So is he going to play Midnight Suns?
He is. He's bought it. He got it on his PlayStation 5. He's so funny. He got it on his PS5 so he could play it on his tablet because he wants to do PS5 remote play to his iPad. That's how he'll play it. And I think that's weird. He has a Steam Deck.
No, that is weird.
It's a little weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. Just a little weird.
But is touch control? Is touch control?
No, it'll still be... He'll still have to sync a controller, which is partly why it's weird.
Okay, it's weird.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. But the console versions look great. He has a Steam Deck, so I would have probably gotten it on there. But I also get the idea of playing it on your big TV. That'd be fun. Hearing good things. John, I see you own it, but you haven't played it yet.
Midnight Suns? Yeah, because it comes out tomorrow.
Oh, I thought it was out today.
Is it?
Did you pre-order that?
It's gotta be, I did pre-order it, yeah.
Okay, so you gave money to Firaxis just to hold on to in their bank and earn interest on. So that
for a whole day. Like, oh my gosh!
You bought it yesterday?
I don't hope they don't get a new car with all the interest they're getting for my day early pre-order that I gave for Firaxis.
I'm just giving you shit. They probably
on my purchase.
Did they give you anything cool? Like you get any bonusy things or characters or anything cool, or is it just?
I think you have to spend $120 Canadian for the Legendary Edition.
Oh.
I don't think I got anything for pre-ordering. I think here's the thing. I like Firaxis. They make good games. I read reviews. Reviews came out early, which, hey, is part of why we say don't pre-order games, wait for reviews. That's did.
True. Yep.
And the reviews were really good, very glowing, very positive. There are people saying this is literally the best Marvel video game ever made.
Yeah.
And it sounds super cool. It sounds like a game I'm going to love. And as we often say on the show, there's a frequency to say this, but XCOM.
Yeah.
And finally we're getting to that. People are making this, but XCOM games. And I want one. And I'm really excited for it.
I am too. I'm very excited about this game. I hear it is very heavy, surprisingly heavy on the relationshipy stuff. And so I thought of you because I know you like dating sims. Some of that stuff is your jam. And don't get weird at home, everybody. I'm not talking about like porny games. I mean like, the ones where you're trying to romance a character, like the Kentucky Fried Chicken one we played around with back in the day. Not that was your pick. But
there's no romantic relationships. You're not going to get to, go bone Spider-Man.
No.
Like, it's not happening. But you can become Spider-Man's friend.
You're right.
There's going to be a mod for sure.
Very well might be. But right, it's like, friendshipping and all that. And apparently those mechanics are pretty interesting and more than people thought there would be in there. And I'm hearing it's one of the best stories in any Marvel game ever, based on one of the best comic story runs, which I have read, most of, I think. So I'm really excited about that game, and I guess it is tomorrow. So hold on to your butts, everybody.
Team says December 2, 2022.
It's a big, and that leads me to the whole point of our kind of our open here. Like kind of across the board, big releases this weekend. World of Warcraft Dragonflight came out on Tuesday. John's playing. Yep. We're going to find out how that is from John a little bit later. Darktide is now officially out, and Mo has spent all his time in that damn game. I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop. I've only been able to dip my toe in a little. Tomorrow's my big day to play some, so I'm very excited about it. Marvel Midnight Suns, as we mentioned, the Callisto Protocol, not the Callista Flockhart Protocol, very different thing.
Yeah, you see a bunch of dancing babies, and then you date Harrison Ford.
There you have it. Now I'm a little annoyed because my every fiber of whatever my brain is made of is convinced that this was announced as a Game Pass Day 1 game, Callisto Protocol, and it isn't. I can't find where I got that impression. I can't find it anywhere. Maybe I thought the Dead Space remake was or something. I don't know, but I was sure there was a Microsoft event. They announced Callisto Protocol, or at least talked about it more and showed some more gameplay, and then said Day 1 Game Pass. And now everybody and their dog is telling me I'm wrong, and they're right, because I am wrong. I went and tried to find it's not on Game Pass, or won't be. And I'm annoyed by that. It's okay.
I think the Dead Space remake is a Game Pass game.
And maybe that's what I did. I flipped them. Because, these are ex-Dead Space people making this Callisto Protocol thing. And, it's easy to mix those up. So there's my excuse. I've easily mixed up Space
I want to
Terror.
live in your world because I bought the game. And if I lived in your world, I could return the game
That's
when
right.
it came out on Game Pass.
That's right.
I didn't.
Where'd you, so you got this on PC, I assume?
Yeah.
And it hits tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
And we have
both of them?
I pre-ordered both. Now, I didn't. So while we're talking about things John did that were fine and things that John did that are not fine, pre-ordering Midnight Suns, fine. There's reviews out for it. It's confirmed to be pretty good. I know jack shit about Callisto Protocol. There is no reason I should have pre-ordered that game, but I did because I was pre-ordering Midnight Suns, and I was like I'm only gonna check out once.
The money was flowing.
It's so hard to check out.
Yep. That's it. I was like, look, I'm buying. It's now or never.
What if it's like
happening or not?
Nuke 'em forever levels of bad?
Well, then I return it.
Just return it. Yeah.
It's the
you can
beauty
return
of
now.
Steam. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-ordering is a little. Yeah, okay. The a few days before pre-order, not such a bad deal. Though that Steam refunds are a thing.
Yeah, the rules are, and I've even seen them break this rule. They've broken it for me before if I had a big enough problem. But it's supposed to be 2 hours or less of gameplay, and they'll give you a return no matter what your reasons are. So John could play it for an hour and go, boy, this is a stinker, and they'll take it back. No big deal.
Yeah. Good. I did with Soulstorm Survivors.
Yeah.
And Pathfinder, Path of the Righteous.
Well, that game, I get it.
With Soulstone Survivors, I kept trying.
It's so good. You guys are insane on that one.
We have different insanities. Mine was just no buttons, but John had very well. John, it's what is it like? It's like how Slay the Spire is still forever the best single player card game, even though all the other ones do amazing things. Yeah. They're like trying too hard to be special, and what I want is just a better version of Slay the Spire. If someone's gonna do something new, I think that's how John feels about Vampire Survivors.
I get that. You know what? Great comparison.
That's actually spot on. That's 100% spot on.
That's fair. I can live with that. That makes perfect sense.
And what the great news is there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And they're all wonderful. And
I found one this week that I think even John is going to like for the reasons he likes Vampire Survivors. I think I found it for you, John. We'll talk about it later, but I got a winner for you. Okay. One that might turn you. One that might make you go, boy, the OG's pretty good, but this here's a good take, is what you'll say.
We'll see. Vampire Survivors is a damn near perfect thing that it is. So it's a hard wall to scale because it is the perfect what it is game.
I mean, it's hard for me to deny that. I think the perfect, you know what? For what it is perfect. And I think that Soulstone Survivors is a really great move forward from the perfect thing if you are okay with iterating on the perfect thing. Because, you know, some people might say, well, World of Warcraft was the perfect thing, and then this Final Fantasy 14 came around, and you know, that's just the same kind of thing. You're just tab targeting and doing all the same shit you were doing before. But, you know, I've always thought I don't like that idea. I never liked the idea that one game did it, therefore that's the only good one. I hate that. It's not what you're saying. I know you're not saying that, because everything's iteration, but like you were just embracing the idea of this but XCOM as a general rule, and I agree with it. And so for whatever reason in this Vampire Survivor world, these other games are working for me in that way that XCOM works for Midnight Suns or a million other games. So anyway.
Yeah.
Just
it's a good branching off point.
Yes. Very well said. All right. Well, one other note here, and I'm going to put up a little preview. I have been for about a year, and I haven't talked about it, but I've been working on a new card game. And this is
I saw you pulling Johnsons.
Yeah, much more ambitious than previous. And this is basically me taking what I learned and moving forward with the idea. It's for Dungeon Murder is the name of the damn thing. And I don't want to give too much away, except it is really shaping up. Like, I'm getting close to where I can not only start showing more of it, talking about rules to people. I got some test decks on their way to me right now. Got a bunch of artwork done. Like, I'm really stoked about it. So stick around, hang around to core, and we'll let you know when this thing happens and what's going on with it.
This is super exciting. What was the name of the last one?
Rock Runners was the last one.
Okay, I knew I didn't have the right name for it. I have always referred to that game since the moment you told me about it. Till now, I call that game by the wrong name. I call it Space Rocks. And all the time.
I don't blame you. That's what it was supposed to be called in the beginning.
I have always called it Space Rocks.
It's Gary Whitta's fault, because he was supposedly making some tabletop thing called Space Rocks, which I had not heard of that he was doing. So when I heard that, I reached out to him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to do this thing." And I said, "All right, well, I don't want to step on any toes." So I came up with Rock Runners. Fine, it worked, whatever. But he still hasn't made whatever the F he was going to do. Bastard. We're all
He's
friends.
He's too busy writing Rogue One.
Yeah, he's too busy cashing Star Wars checks to do it.
Would you like to work on Star Wars, or would you like to work on
your little
Space Rocks?
On your
you want to finish Space Rocks or work on Star Wars? You decide.
Put this one aside, and we'll work on some.
And I do want to share this one card. I'm going to be a little vague about it, but this card that I'm showing to the chat, people at home will try to describe it. In the corner, it tells you that it's worth 2,000 gold. It's an action card. There's a whole class of cards called action cards. On there is a blue dragon that I drew, and this card is called Dragon Threat. Its effect is all players are and you can play up to 2 to 5 players. All players are intimidated by your blue dragon. They each give you 2,000 gold to make it leave.
It brings back memories of the men's locker room back in high school.
Yeah, baby, pulling out that blue dragon.
Please, just put
they
your
were like,
pants
dude,
on.
it's
I'll
blue.
give you
Go to the
2,000
doctor.
gold.
I'm really excited about it, though. So as soon as I've got more to show,
it looks great. It looks great. There needs to be a dragon beef card, maybe.
People have been saying, like, you sneak Nash in there, put in some other stuff. Like, they want me to put all this, like, hidden hooch. Yeah. Maybe. I'm not saying it won't.
Dragon beef is a good one.
Dragon beef is pretty good.
Maybe you don't put
subtle
Nash
enough
in.
To not be overt.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't put Nash in, but maybe you make a baby arm card that if you get it, you can play it, and your passive is you have a baby arm.
Well, the way this works,
or what do you call it? Nature's Pocket.
Nature's
Make
Pocket.
a Nature's Pocket.
No, we would all know what it was.
You guys will like this. I have a whole. So there's properties in this game, like dungeon locations, like
nice.
Sacrificial Pyre, which includes 2 locations: the Boned Lodestar and the Ceremonial Hold. Those are all kind of standard, but my favorite is probably.
Lodestar. It's awesome.
My favorite one probably is this one, which is Undead Archer Regiment, which is fletching huts, vitamin baths, and organ rejuvenation plates. So those are the 3 things there.
I'm excited to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, you'll like it. Colossal Ogre Platoons includes Halfling Brain Mulchers, Spiked Club Manufacturing Facility, and Artisan Bread Bakery. Ooh. Anyway,
now they are called ogres in this game.
They're ogres. They're not orgs, dude. I thought of you while I was.
Well, we'll see. We'll see once it gets published. We won't know until the publishers send out the.
Well, Kickstarter coming soon. I'll let you guys know when, and it's going to be neat. I'm very excited about it. I want to be playing this game by the first of the year. All right, let's.
Excited.
Well, me too. It's taking a ton of work, but it's finally coming together, and I'm feeling good about it. Feeling very creative about it.
Are there going to be gold tokens, or you have to bring your own gold tokens?
The gold is all represented in the cards themselves, so you don't have to have any stuff.
Okay. I was like, where am I going to find 2,000 gold? And if that's one card, I'm going to need like so many gold pieces.
Oh yeah, it'll all make sense once you see it. But their cards are worth different amounts.
Sorry, I shouldn't ask questions. You're pulling Johnson's, not trying to explain the whole thing.
Yeah,
right
this
now.
Johnson is it's all out. Everyone can see it now. You can see my Johnson now.
Yeah, I can see your blue dragon.
Oh my lord! All right, it's time for us to dive into this week's Patreon thing of the week. This is a question we got. The question we got from apparently
before you play that song. I took a shit.
It's a brown noise generator.
Yeah.
They're like everything on the Atari 2600. It made everybody poop their pants. Anyway, we got a couple of them here. We're going to read one from Xavier Payne and one from Ismail Quaznili because both of them have MMO questions, and we're sort of going to mush them up here. So he says, what does your ideal MMO look like? Now, be thinking of that as I read this next one. It says, speaking of MMOs, is what Ismail says. To what extent you all agree WoW over the years, specifically from mid Wrath of the Lich King until recent expansion, has removed the role-playing element and just become a MMOG instead of an MMORPG? I recall telling my friend who uses a hunter that the day Blizzard removed ammo for bows and guns is when the role-playing element had died. It's an interesting take. So taking that in mind and knowing that, despite its issues, flaws in recent years, WoW is still, I assume, the biggest MMO in the market, although
I would think that's a safe statement.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
I think it's probably still true. I don't think Final Fantasy's definitely has had a moment here where it probably rivaled those numbers at its height of its recent expansion itself, But yeah, WoW is still the a thing to be reckoned with. The new expansion seems to be performing well. We'll get John's take when we get to what we played. But with all the MMOs we've played and messed around with, I've been messing with ESO this last week. We're always poking our heads in and out. Less bow overall, but you still you played WoW. You'll get into an MMO here and there, right, Bo?
I'm not against the MMO. I just don't. I have hours logged in other things, I suppose. That's maybe
right.
I feel like less of an expert,
right,
because of my time played. But there were periods of time when I played tons of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, kind of nonstop, right? Same.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a broad question to say what is our ideal MMO, and taking into account things like when did the role play part of it end? I would actually argue, well. So a lot of people don't know this, but very early in the WoW days, I palled around with Veronica Belmont, and we role played everything. And I don't get weird on me. It wasn't like that. She's like my sister, but like our characters. So we would role play in cities, and we would role play when we'd quest together, and we do all this stuff, and we really enjoyed it. It was fun, a really fun way to play the game. We chose Earthen Ring for that reason at the time because it was a RP server, and I felt like that opportunity was always down to us wanting to do it. It was never the game being good at encouraging it or discouraging it. You make the choice to do it or you don't. And I don't think it's actually fair to blame, certainly not a mechanic like losing ammo for hunters as the day that stuff died. Like who was role playing arrow supply? That's weird.
They're like, damn it, I just can't get into it anymore.
Yeah, I was like, did the orcs all go, me need more arrows. Go back to town, get arrows. And then suddenly you couldn't do that.
Every rule set, whether it's a TTRPG or a video game, is just it's never going to be a perfect simulation. Mm-hmm. So like maybe there's something that ruins the fantasy for you specifically like this. If we're just going to be generous about that ruined it for you. But I think what we're really talking about, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a period of time when online gaming felt magical. And I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's because the story of gaming superseded gaming itself. So there was a period of time where all I knew is that there were online games and strangers to play with that might do weird things, like which is what you just talked about,
Right.
or pretend to be a military platoon. I don't know them. It's almost like sometimes they're fantasy characters if you're doing it right. At Planetside, I was in a guild where there was a literal drill sergeant, like he would yell and call us names and get us to do stuff. It was fun. I was like, wow, it's like I'm in the military. It's an experience. Now we know who streamers are. Now we see reviews. Now we know we're playing with people we know and chat with on 10 different chat services. The kind of fantasy of like, I'm on the internet playing with a German and he's like pretending to be a wizard. Like that era of not nubile, what's the word? That naivete that sort of came along, or that magic that came along with online gaming, where we're in video game Dungeons and Dragons. I better stop talking like my dwarf.
Yeah.
Like we just don't do that as much because we know, what if they find out I'm at Bo Schwartz on Twitter and they're like, that guy was trying to ERP me as a dwarf in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Like it's just, we kind of ruined online games a bit with everything else, but it was inevitable because how you stop the technological juggernaut from advancing.
I tend to agree with that take. I think that that's part of the reason, but I also happen to know that right now, whether we like it or not, there are thousands of players playing and role-playing. They're role-playing in these games. They're just not telling us about it. Like there are people that still enjoy that. And there was nothing to stop me from doing it when I was doing it with Veronica. And there was nothing stopping me from doing it again now. Like the game still, the worlds allow for it. It's just, I didn't feel so much like the naivete was going away. It was more like, well, that was a phase that I played and it was fun and I enjoyed it. But now we're running this guild and it's just more practical now or whatever. John, I'm curious your take on that aspect of it. And does that whole question about how much role play is in this game, how much does that lead into whether that's in an MMO you want or not? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic because I do disagree with the notion that it's not a game that you can role play in anymore. I think that's wrong, but I do think that there's kind of two ways you can interpret this. Like, when is it being a role-playing game and that it's a game where you can role play in going away versus what we traditionally think of as a role-playing game? Where did it switch more into an action style game? And I think that's a little more muddied as to where you could say that happened. I think WoW is just as much an RPG as it has always been. I don't think much has changed. But I think that there was a moment for me in my WoW history where it broke. And I literally did tell this to two Blizzard devs at a party one year at BlizzCon. And it was probably the most like alien conversation I ever had with a Blizzard dev because I didn't understand them and they clearly didn't understand me. But there was a quest in Legion, I think. Pretty sure it was Legion. Where you go and you meet some Tauren, and they're like, we gotta get out of here, and then some goblins move in, and it becomes very clear that some goblins moved in and murdered this Tauren family, and then took over their house.
Yeah.
And then the goblins keep sending you on quests, and it's very obvious through the entire thing that they are murderers and that they're bad people and that they killed this poor Tauren family and are now making you do chores to help facilitate their further crimes. And it's done a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's one of my least favorite quests in the history of World of Warcraft because, one, it makes your character an idiot. Like, everybody knows that these goblins murdered these Tauren, and your character just continues to be like, okay, let me help you. Yes, it does unlock the gullible title at the end. And there's no point where you get to call them on it and be like, hey, I think you guys are bad guys. You continue to accept the quest, you continue to do the thing, or you walk away from it, right? Like, that's always a possibility too, although WoW has never been good about just walk away from it. It's always been no, accept the quest and do the thing. And it always bugged me because it always felt like it's being very tongue-in-cheek with life and death in the world, not taking it very seriously. And I think WoW has always been a little tongue-in-cheek at times, but serious when it needed to be. And this felt like kind of meanly casual about murder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then to go on so far as to call you gullible for then when they finally do reveal that they're murderers and you fight them, they give you the gullible title. And I remember complaining about this quest to two people who worked at Blizzard. And they're like, "Yeah, but it's funny." And I was like, "No, it isn't."
They didn't get it.
I was like, "But it isn't funny." I was like, "Because you made my character stupid, and you took my ability to role play in the world out of it, and you just told me a story about how stupid I am for doing quests."
Yeah.
Like that's against the principle of the game you're designing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, but didn't you think it was funny?" And I was like, "No, I didn't. I don't know what else to tell you. I think it's the worst quest line you've ever done in the game."
Wow.
And that was about and then we went our separate ways because we were clearly not going to be seeing eye to eye on this.
Yeah.
You still talk to those devs?
Yeah, he's still hanging out all the time.
No, I don't know what job they had at Blizzard. I don't talk to them.
Cavs, a weekly Zoom call at John's house with the devs, still fighting, still arguing about it. Like,
I mean, yeah.
But
I get what you're saying, though. There's a lot of aspects to the WoW experience that are like that.
yeah,
Where the story is something you passively experience because you're doing the thing, like you said. So sometimes when it's just too far, then it's like, I don't have any agency.
yeah, you have to be careful with that. Like it's fine to have only the illusion of agency in a story, but you have to at least have that illusion, or you have to at least develop a strong enough narrative to where the players feel like, yeah, this is what I would want to do. This is the direction I would want to go. And even if it isn't, maybe they understand, well, this is what my character should be wanting to do. And I feel like every now and then WoW does step on the toes of that. They don't offer a lot of choice or unique options. And so I think in that regard, I do think there is an element of, this isn't really a role-playing game. I'm just kind of being told a story. So I think there's a little credit to what they're saying in that regard. But every now and then, WoW will dabble outside of it. WoW will give you a quest where it's like, hey, this guy did a thing. Do you want to go? But there really is one where it's like, punch him. Do you want to kick him? Do you want to tickle him? Like they give you like a soft option if you're not into torturing a prisoner sort of deal.
Sure.
It's like, okay, at least you gave me the choice. At least I get to make a narrative decision for my character. Even if the end result is he gives us the information, right? Like sometimes just telling a player you get to pick how you get to that decision, that's role playing.
Do you think it's even feasible that there's a game in the future that, say, instead of that rote linear experience you're describing, where you can maybe have 2 or 3 little options from soft to hard during part of it, but for the most part, this story's being told to you and you're accepting it as the character living in that world? Do you think there's a future where something like the Disco Elysium level of decision making and conversation tree stuff can coexist as a layer in an MMO where the world is is big and interactive and open and full of players all making similar decisions? I mean, this feels like we maybe there's a future.
The Old Republic got really close. In fact, they kind of notoriously went so hard on it, on like branching paths and play your way, that they really had to rein it in because they got to a weird place where major characters were alive for some players and dead for others. And they had to do some real like creative story sidestepping because they had unfortunately branched the narratives off in such a long way that it was so wide they had to find a way to rein it back in.
Yeah.
And I think that's always going to happen in a consistently going, persistent game like an MMO. Branching off is really fun, but eventually that becomes not sustainable to keep doing.
Yeah.
So it has to be done with a lot of planning in mind. And I think the better route is what games like Final Fantasy XIV do. They offer you choices. Like it's becoming more and more common in FF14 where they'll give you a bunch of choices and that lets you put a little imprint of your character on there. But if you play multiple times, if you play with somebody else and you get to see what those different options are, you very quickly realize how not different the outcomes are.
Right.
But sometimes, again, just letting players feel like they had that agency is more important than actually giving them the freedom that players say they
'Cause
want.
we were just talking about the feeling of role play, right? To sort of just bring it back to the question what pulls it out, and for you, it's the sense that your character is being put into the fantasy of your character is being dictated by the authors.
Yeah, your
rather
agency is being
than
taken. Yeah.
in the video game form, like, yeah, the quest is the quest, but allow me to express my version of my character while I'm interacting, and that sort of route, the role playing. That's the role playing part.
Right.
So you're playing the role of gullible idiot in that quest line you discussed, and you have no choice.
Right.
So, yeah.
It feels like there's an opportunity for some machine learning AI stuff to kick in when it comes to NPCs and conversation trees. When I ended up playing around with that character.ai stuff, and it's basically a glorified Zork, except it's happening in real time and nothing's predetermined. I did get there were a few times in that process, it certainly could be tightened up, but there were times in that process where I was like, oh man, this might be actually the future of this part of a game. Like, I'm not saying the entire game's run this way, but being able to make really interesting, varied choices that no one else thought of to do, and then the game reacting to me in a way that's meaningful. I think there's a future there. And one of the few futures for AI and machine learning that I actually think sounds cool, as opposed to most of it sounds like garbage. But
Yeah, and maybe that stuff also gets offloaded on local servers because it's
right,
probably tough to run that stuff on your own machine, but
I assume so. I don't
fed
know.
remotely.
That's a really good question. Like, it would have to be mostly remote.
I mean, that's where this is a very side tangent, so I'll spend very little time on it, but that's where the whole streaming a video game versus running it, to me, when we talk about Stadia, leveraging it, it's like, do powerful shit on your local server so that we can meet the minimum requirements of some AI program. We couldn't, like, 10 AIs in City, we couldn't run them all, but you could potentially run them all,
Right.
so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we see it like chat's mentioning red, green, blue Mass Effect. People still hate the Mass Effect 3 choices ending. And they hate it because it's seeing too much behind the curtain. It's them literally going pick A, B, or C. Forgetting the fact that Mass Effect trilogy as a whole, like, is incredible. Even Mass Effect 3. Like, yes, it ends with a decision between three things. But was Tally alive in your playthrough? Was Morden? Did you know Morden Solus could be alive? Was Rex in your playthrough of Mass Effect 3 at all? Because
No.
sometimes he's dead in one.
Yeah.
Like, that game is so vastly different based on your decisions that, like, it actually works. It actually is a beautiful branching narrative. But because it culminates in three decisions, people think it's bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I think there's a interesting discussion to be had about how this game that is actually successful at what it sets out to do, which is let you craft a narrative across multiple games that can fluctuate wildly depending on the decisions you make, how it can lose that illusion from one single choice at the very end, even though it executed it perfectly 98% of the time.
Yeah.
The answer to your question is the ending of Disco Elysium is what Mass Effect should have done.
Oh.
I gotta get to the end of this.
I don't want to spoil it, but like, so Mass Effect 3 super epic, and it's three decisions, right? Like, that's sort of the tenor, right? Saving the galaxy, blah blah blah. Disco Elysium is how terrible of a human being can I be, and how depressed can I feel going through it. But the way the denouement, for word of the week, again, the denouement, the unraveling of the plot into a conclusion, and you leave the theater, is well executed and reflects on the choices you've made in the playthrough. Yeah. So all those, like, things may have something to do with the end, and gets mentioned or assessed, or like, put into what's included at the end in a satisfying way. Mm-hmm. And none of that's in Mass Effect, right? Make it through the mission, three choices. Deus Ex Human Revolution had the same thing. You make it to the end. Not that that's known
Push a
for its
button,
branching,
pick your
but it's like
Right.
4 buttons. What do you do, bro?
Right.
You know, and then the sequel comes along. It's like actually you push button 2. So what was the point of that? You know, and same with Andromeda, right? I assume it canonically a button was also pushed
Probably.
in Mass Effect 3. So it's hate to accuse them of laziness because they worked hard on the game and a lot of effort. Like it's a great video game, but it is like this is too hard. 3 buttons. Here you go.
Well,
The
would
audience
you?
won't
So,
mind.
somebody who's DM'd a lot of D&D, the ultimate freedom RPG, where people can truly explore their characters and make broad decisions and all this. Do you feel like is the ending the hardest thing to stick? Like to make it satisfying for everybody? Like,
I think the word I would use as a shining example of endings is Lord of the Rings, right? There's like half a book is the ending. Like everyone, the story's got to stop somewhere, and a poem is never finished, only abandoned.
right.
So no matter what, if you really liked the journey you're on, you're going to feel bad on some level, probably. But what's satisfying is having an ending. What is it? So the tragedy. I think it's in tragedy. It's an ending that's both. I can't remember now. It's like you can see the problem, but you can empathize with the problem, so you feel both at the same time, and you get release.
Oh, there's
Comedy.
a word for
It's
that.
the ending that's both surprising and inevitable. So you feel surprise,
Yeah.
but you also feel like, how could it have happened any other way? Of
Couldn't
course
have
it
done,
did,
yeah.
but I'm surprised by it. That's like if you can intersect that feeling, then that's great. And so there's like this sort of release that you get from a good conclusion. And then in like fantasy stories and stuff, if you want more lore, if you just want a satisfying ending, then you Lord of the Rings it, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna go back to the Shire. We're gonna say goodbye to everyone. We're gonna have dinner before you get on the boat and go off forever. And like Mass Effect being a long journey, World of Warcraft being a long journey, like conclusions, lazy conclusions are 80s action movies. The bad guy's dead. Mwah, 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 mwah. I'm gonna kiss the beautiful girl. Credits. I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I like the movie, but really just like, it's like, you know, work's done. It's 5 o'clock. Time to punch out. It's like, you just want some satisfying information to leave off with to sort of finish that journey you're on. And we have a huge habit of being like, great, we did the end where you were surprised and inevitable. Credits.
Yeah.
We're out of money. We're out of production money. We have to stop filming and send this thing to the theater. And we can't take the time to deliver a truly epic ending.
It's the reason Westerns have right off into the sunset. It's something that evokes, it's cheap and easy, okay, and you overused, no question. But the concept worked because it said a lot. It said, you're done with the shootouts. You've saved the town. The sheriff's back. You don't need to be here anymore. You're going to ride off, and that implies he's riding off to new adventures, new things. Who knows what's out there? Your imagination fills in all
It's a
these
version
blanks.
of happily ever after. Because
Yeah.
like fairy tales kind of, you know, we get the gist happily ever after. The thing is, our tastes in 2023, our taste and appetite for fantasy and fiction and lore is like, you know, not what it was 100 years ago or before Lord of the Rings existed, right? It's, you know, but I think there are even probably in your English Liddy classes, you know, great books that have long, expansive endings. I just can't think of one. Maybe a Thomas Hardy book. I've read a few of those.
Yeah.
Not Tom Hardy.
No. Not
But
Mad Max
Thomas
Fury
Hardy,
Road.
the English author. You know, you might have these conclusions that actually take some time to get to where it needs to be. But in a book, you got time, right? It's up to the author.
Sure.
Can put that time in. But in film,
Yeah, but
dramatic
even
work,
then, some of the most brief like endings, like I don't know if either of you ever read the actual book to I Am Legend.
I have, yeah.
Like that
It's very good.
that ending kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty quick, it feels like, and like has stuck with me all my life. Well, ever since I read it. I didn't
Right.
read when I was a baby. But like ever since I read it, I it's like stuck with me. And it's very, very quick, and it doesn't tell you too much. It doesn't really linger on it. It's just, it's like, it's over. This is why it's called I Am Legend, and now go live with it.
Yeah.
And it's effective in that regard. Like, I walked away from it going, wow, I got a lot I got to think about
Yeah.
about this book.
To me, it's the ending of The Sopranos. Again, a different medium, but it's controversial, that ending. But the way that ended, I thought was perfect. It was perfect. It left me in a place where I didn't quite know what happened. I didn't know what it meant, but I kind of did. But part of it didn't matter because Tony Soprano's story and his arc so far had led him to this. And it was up to me to kind of fill in some blanks. Like, it worked for me. It was like I don't know, it was like a participation ending that I got to play in. And I liked that. And I'm not saying video games can get away with that as easy. I think also drawing things out helps. Red Dead Redemption 1 has got an amazing ending arc where it doesn't just end. There's a whole other bit. And it really is satisfying. So the stuff can be done. But again, we're talking about crafted endings. I think if I'm to answer this question after all of this discussion in a simple way, it would be figure out a way to create the complexity and the true sense of agency, but also have it be a video game where things sort of have to be structured in a way, especially a big open world where everyone's in the world. You can't just destroy it so others can't play it. There's got to be a balance there, and I don't think anybody's quite hit it. There's been innovation, certainly. Questing in general was just completely thrown on its side when WoW was first released. And nothing was doing it like they did. I mean, that changed everything about it. But now they all do what WoW does. And some of them do it better with cutscenes and audio and everything else. But I think that we're now ready. I think we're at the edge of, like, what's the next innovation? And maybe it isn't even called MMOs then. I don't know what we call them. But there's something. We're on the edge of something. And I think
it feels like every game is an MMO these days.
Yeah, kind of.
MMORPG as a term is outdated. I don't know what the people who were making them were thinking, but my sense from all of it was it was a video game replication of what we were doing at the D&D table. But we could have more than 4 people. We could have more than 4 people. And then it turned into another thing. Like world firsts and raiding is so not antithetical to what you're doing at a TTRPG table. It's not role playing at all. It's an esport. It's nothing to do with anything when it comes to virtualizing in the computer space a world of imagination.
Right.
So you picture like the devs or the DM of your RPG session, and tastes and culture has changed in the space.
Yeah.
I don't know. I often think, like, I've imagined an MMO. I've imagined sort of iterating on the planet side MMO in particular. And part of it would be not just PvP, but having PvP elements in a persistent world. And the thing I always keep coming back to is that each of the servers that are running would be manned by like a hostess or a waiter. Like I just use those words. Those probably aren't the right words, but there's someone that the company hires that runs the server and the events. They see what's happening on the map. They have their view, and they can pick quest lines live for 4 players to go after. So let's say the quest is 3 factions. They all got to fight over this one territory. Great. Go fight over the territory. And then a skirmish happens in one area that doesn't seem to break up. So he drops a giant robot dinosaur in that area. And all of a sudden everyone's getting pwned and they all got to work together. And, so that you have a player who's a representative of the company, and the game's designed in such a way as no one can go to a Wikipedia and figure out what that guy's going to do, because that guy's like DMing the server.
Right.
And that doesn't exist yet. And I'm like, we should have that. Like, we're paying a subscription fee. Some of that money should go to pay a salary for a guy to DM the server I'm on. But we haven't. We've stopped because I think the games have gotten really big, and big business has kind of taken over to say what are the efficiencies of exploiting revenue and what people say they find fun. And we're in this rut. We're like a car that can't get out of mud because it just works for the business and it works just enough for us, and no one's doing anything innovative.
Well, for employees to be the macro DM role like you're talking about, which I totally agree with, would be rad. I mean, this is kind of the point of the multiplayer stuff you could do with Neverwinter Nights back in the day, but it was a small group and one DM, and they kind of treated it like just digital D&D, except within the rules of the game. If they did that here, they'd have to do it. They couldn't do it per player. That's not practical at all, because you've got millions of people playing, and you can't have
no. You can't hire an employee per person.
No, but you could do world stuff. Like you could do This dragon's happening now, and it's in the middle of town, like per server. Somebody's in charge of a server's various, I think that there's actually merit to that. I think that'd be really cool.
Even during primetime hours, whether it's like, okay, from 3 PM to midnight, we'll have somebody running events on the server. And, it would take a lot of pre-planning so that the options they had available to them were fresh, but they could drop quests. And then you could make the name of a god. So the realm, people would be praying to Agabalsac. Like because I was saying like the GM running the server, but there's like, I'm not here enough prayer for Agabalsac. So you have people in Stormwind going, praise be to Agabalsac, drop the treasure chest quest, and then the sky opens up, and then all of a sudden there's a big competition. It would take more of a not a quest-based like WoW type RPG, but some sort of hybrid where your interaction with the environment mattered. But like that's the direction MMOs could take. We'll stay away from the VR space, but like definitely an MMO where like I have a hostess who's running the experience in some way is, I think, a way in this space now to distinguish yourself as an.
When you said I'll stay away from the VR
game's
space,
got to be good too.
When you said I'll stay away from the VR space, John, I saw a notable relaxing of John's facial muscles. He chilled.
Yeah.
He just went.
All right.
There are MMOs in the VR space already. They're janky and new, but
Yeah, thanks for walking us back to that, Scott.
I'm not going to get into it, John. Jesus wept.
Yeah, I played one.
Jesus wept. Jesus wept, for there were no more lands to conquer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No. My ideal MMO is PlanetSide, but with more PvE elements and a hostess running the server. So I don't know if we're gonna have a T-Rex or some other crazy event, and the objectives and things that happen are affected by Agamagaballs or whoever.
I just think in general the concept of an MMO has shifted so much. I mean, a lot of the ideas you're talking about, like, as we have all discussed plenty, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite, and in 2 days Fortnite goes through an event. It's going to happen one time. You play on the 3rd and you see the event, or it has happened and you exist in the world outside of it. Like, that's it. I have no idea what's going to happen. The world's going to shift dramatically, and it's going to be a whole different ball game when it's done and we're on the other side of it. They've done plenty of these. Like, I've seen footage of people fighting Galactus, and it was like giant, you're flying through his body scale like thing. Seems like a cool thing. I never participated in it. I never played it. And there's no way for me to do that because it's nope, we're dropping it at this moment, and you're either a part of it or you're not. And I think that sort of stuff is cool. I think that stuff is a neat concept and is a neat idea. I think MMOs that just continue to try to, sorry, WoW players, I'll say nice things later, that just continue to find new land masses constantly, like, oh, new continent. Like, I think eventually you just see constant diminishing returns, whether that's the old areas just feeling barren and empty all the time, you got capital cities with nobody in them, like, because everybody's just off doing the new shiny. I think a world that actually evolves and changes, like, to me, that's more compelling than this constant, like, stream of, well, better get over to the new continent. Oh, we're out of continents. We're going to the moon. Yeah. Like, that
MMO, I think, is EVE Online. It's not really a traditional MMO because it's space, but that's one where I know I've played years on, and it seemed like some new space sector. My friend was telling me, well, this is where all the people sort of hang out. This is the main space hub. Yeah. It's heavily trafficked. It's like the Stormwind. Except people didn't abandon it for whatever new shiny. It's because that game is just, hey, what's the new content? More space? Like, do I need to go see it?
Hey, more space, guys.
And it has
more of it.
Mm-hmm. And it has the full rem PvE, and the Legends and Tales are largely made up of player events. I think that's just the one issue with EVE. It's a little dated to get into, personally speaking.
I agree.
And
a more approachable version of EVE is still fun. It's on my wish list. I wish somebody would do it, but maybe they should do it. I don't know.
I don't love it as an MMO space, I guess, is part. It never really clicked
Yeah.
You know, as an MMO space. Like, so it has all like the DNA I'd be looking for, but I can't see myself spending months and months and months
Mm-hmm.
playing the space game, even though I really have always appreciated that game, and I love reading the gamer articles about how one group screwed over another group. Like the backstabbing and wars in that game are kind of real.
My daughter has meetings there tomorrow, or no, next week. Sorry.
In EVE Online?
Yeah, she's still in
Oh,
Iceland.
she's going to CCP.
Yeah, she's still in Iceland till the end of the month, and she'll
That's
be
awesome.
there.
That's a good idea to visit that. I didn't think
agree.
of that.
Yeah, she's visited already a couple other devs, local. There's a lot of dev culture in Iceland, turns out.
That's awesome that she's going to visit there.
I know.
I keep wanting to.
I have all these questions I wanted to ask the CCP team, but I realized no, this is her like digging around for, you know, she's doing interviews, so I shouldn't be interfering, but I have questions, you know. I have things I want to know about stuff. But anyway, the only other thing I would say before we move on is usually there are 1, 2, maybe 3 big MMOs that aren't out yet that are like on the horizon that everyone's stoked about. And I think this might be the first time in a long time where that isn't actually true right now. Like there are a bunch of games with pending expansions and new content, and that, you know, WoW just had theirs.
There's a few. I can't remember what they're all called, but I know there's a few. There's what Riot's working on.
Oh,
That's
Riot's
got a lot
MMO.
of hype behind it.
Yeah, forgot.
What's the other one? There's another one that's got a lot of
something?
positivity, but I don't want to get the name.
I mean, in Riot's case, it always slips my mind because I just know it's far off, and so I don't think about it. But what do you know? What the other one like kind of is?
No, it's not ArcAge. Just keep typing MMO names, chat. Ashes of Creation. That's one I hear a lot.
There's one called City of Titans. Apparently, I'm just looking at a list now.
Yeah, Ashes of Creation gets a lot of.
Oh,
big
Ashes of
mouth.
Creation.
Yeah.
This
and
actually, Margaret.
Yeah.
Kron, she was a community manager on PlanetSide back in the day, and PlanetSide 2.
Yeah.
She's a part of the Ashes of Creation team, so I'm like, it's
really?
definitely an MMO.
It looks interesting from what I've seen, but you know, again, it like MMOs, who knows what they're going to be versus, you know, what they promise versus what they come out as. But I think there's still a few. I think if I was going to say there's one major positive about WoW kind of sucking for a period of time, it's that a lot of people went out there and tried a bunch of stuff, whether it was Final Fantasy XIV or Elder Scrolls Online or New World or whatever, and realized like, oh, there's a lot of different things this genre can be. It doesn't have to be get from 1 to level 60. Here's your new continent. Here's your dungeons. Here's your raids. Like, it doesn't have to be that format. And I feel like that there were people even beyond that. I mean, one of the best role-playing games, when you talk about people role-playing, is Grand Theft Auto Online.
Yeah.
Like, people have gone out there and done some weird stuff in some game spaces that are really cool and said, you know what, this exists in more than just, I'm an elf with a sword. Like, we're going to get out there and we're going to do some wild stuff. And I think it has made it more interesting. Again, some of the coolest stuff I've seen. Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto Online role-playing is just a bizarre, fascinating thing. Like, it has evolved. I mean, you could even make a case that, like, the stuff they're doing with Darktide, like, if that got big enough and grew in such a way, like, that has MMO elements. Destiny
Darktide is basically
certainly
LFD.
Elements of it.
Yeah, LFD it is,
So,
right? Yeah.
Dark, you know, those kinds of, and there are lots of games like it are basically just, you know, looking for dungeon games without the MMO.
Which I'm fine with. I mean, I guess what I want is.
There's another one, Palea, by the way. Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking out loud here, but like Ashes, I'm looking at the Ashes of Creation page, and for example, the first thing they promise on here is oh, now I lost it. Hold on, where is it? Oh, here it is. From Ashes to Empires, your journey will shape the face of Vera, which is their land. It says, experience an MMO where everything is permanently impacted by your actions. Explore, trade, build, and let the world take form. From your imagination through your will and into everyone's reality, you will create what will be the cornerstone of the next explorer's ambition. I feel like MMOs are always promising this concept of everything you do affects the world. But then they come out and they
wait
don't.
Wait a second, it's just quest time.
Yeah. And I don't want that again. I want what they just said there to be a reality, and I'm not saying it won't be. I can't judge it. I haven't played it, but I don't know. I'm ready for the next step. Whatever the next step is, let's go that direction.
Arcade 2 is another one. There's Arcade 2 is another one that graphically looks sick.
Arcade 2.
Yeah, and then Palia, which is just the crafting.
Oh yeah, I remember the announcement trailer for Palia and thinking this thing looked interesting.
That's still going, still being made.
Yep, still being made. It was, the announced trailer was a year ago for Palia. It looks graphically very cartoony, really good, and it's apparently it's just craft. It's without the. It's for people who like crafting and social communities. It's not. Right. They took out the whole having to fight monsters, I guess, part of it. I'm like, I don't know. I guess there's an audience for that. Sure, why not?
Yeah, you make other stuff compelling enough. My ears are
Arcade 2. I mean, I don't really know the long-term success of Arcade, but you look at these trailers now, and it's like, oh man, it looks like it has sick combat.
Oh yeah, the combat and the graphics and everything looks so good. And at home,
my ideal fantasy MMO fights like Black Desert, just full action and spam.
I want a shooter one. I want something that plays like Overwatch, but is in a giant world where they can drop dinosaurs in it in real time. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's PlanetSide 1, and it doesn't run anymore, so you can't play it.
Nope.
It was also the original idea for Overwatch.
Yeah, that's right. It was Titan, but
it's kind of. I mean, if you want to get into why Overwatch 2 also hit so low for me, is I think there was a part of me for a time when we all kind of found out that Titan became Overwatch.
Yeah.
Was like, okay, so you put Overwatch out to get people invested in the world, and then Overwatch 2 is what Titan should have been. They finally figure it out, they come together, and they create the MMO around this thing now that everybody's invested in the world. And then they were like, but what if it was the exact same game? And I was like, oh.
I think that's fair. As much as I'm enjoying Overwatch 2, I think that is a fair assessment. It feels like they not gave up, but they just said, what's the quickest line to profitability? And, let's not get too ambitious here, folks. Let's just make Overwatch again. Yeah.
I even hope that 4-player stuff comes, because playing Darktide is just I'm thinking I would play this, but Overwatch. It doesn't have to be dark and horrific. It can be bright and full of Omnic robots.
Yeah.
Have all the same, I need to learn the tactics of all the special enemies. 4 of us have to work together to get through the mission. I would play, Warhammer 40K Overwatch.
Heck yeah.
Or just Overwatch Darktide. It doesn't have to be dark; it can be bright and cute, and I would still be into it.
Overwatch Brighttide. There you go.
Yeah.
I hear from insiders that stuff's coming along real nice and supposed to be rad. We'll see.
I hope so. But,
we shall see. All right, well, let's move on to the games that we played this week. I installed a bunch of stuff that I haven't done anything with yet because I was doing some Steam Deck testing and updating my list, and one of those was, for whatever reason on the show, it keeps coming up. We keep talking about Metal Gear 5 and how great that game was, and I'm like, you know what? I want to play that.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah, so I installed it, and I'm going to mess around with it. It works great on the Steam Deck, 100% perfect on there, but also, good on PC and consoles and stuff. Anyway, I reinstalled that. We'll see what I do there. I think I need to start over just so I can get the whole experience again.
Yeah, you got to pick a sweet helicopter song too. You got to do that. You got to change your helicopter song. What are you thinking for? I
don't know. I was thinking about doing the custom MP3 thing, and if I chose something, the track from Doom, the 2016 Doom called "Rip and Tear," is one of my favorite things ever. It's super hardcore, and actually, it's okay for me to play it because it's YouTube friendly. Hold on, I'll pull it up here real quick. It is this song right here. And this thing is this is some nice build up. Listen to how this thing tops out. I think that's going to be my helicopter song.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're getting to an evac. People are shooting at you. There's rockets going everywhere. You're like, we got to get out of here. I got to complete the mission. That's playing as the helicopter swoops in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The fact they even give you the option. I also deep dived on the whole... I was trying to see where the controversy around the character Quiet is these days. The sniper lady who's too sexy for her own good or whatever. I didn't know she's based on an actual actress / model from Denmark who lives in Japan. Forgot her name. there's a whole other interesting story behind that and why he chose it and all this stuff I didn't know about at the time. At the time, I just knew a bunch of American players were like, this is overly sexualized, but there's more to it than that. And she is pretty sexualized, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, I'm going to play that again.
You get full rep with her and she just randomly shoves her butt in your face while you're in the helicopter and you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
why are we doing this? Why are you putting your butt in my face?
Yeah, that game, they're not afraid to put her in compromising places. It's weird. Anyway, I think I'm going to play it again. So there's that. But I didn't play it. Instead, I'm sure you guys heard about this. Maybe you haven't, but The Witcher 3 is about to get a massive update. It's a next-gen update where they're doing all 4K textures within the game. So like all the game textures are getting like triple buffed. Performance modes, all that other stuff coming to PlayStation 5, Series X. I don't know if the PC is getting anything because it's already got mod support. And maybe they don't care there. I don't know. Actually, I just don't know that. But they are adding, just like they did with CD Projekt Red's other game, Cyberpunk. They are adding cross-platform saves, so cross saves to everything. So no matter where you can play it on the Switch, and it would cross save with your Series X or your PC or whatever. So I'm actually really looking forward to that update. So much so that I reinstalled Witcher 3 and then found myself playing it for 3 hours.
That'll happen.
I started a new game and did it on the couch.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, I know. It's huge. I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't know why I'm doing
White
it.
Orchard for 20 hours.
Oh, this is the other reason. I forgot to mention it. So during the autumn sale there that happened for about 4 days or whatever, Steam, Series X, PlayStation 5, everywhere that you could buy Witcher 3, including all the DLC, the Ultimate Edition or whatever, $10 or less. It's like $7.99 or something. Very briefly, it's back up to $50 or whatever the normal price is, but it was like $8 for like 4 days. And I'm like, well, I'm going to want to play this there as well as over here, so I'm going to just do this. So I bought that for $7, $8.
I've been there, buddy. I own it on Xbox too. I got it for like $8.
Yeah.
It's not the first time.
Yeah, whenever they do this sale, I always get tempted, but hearing about cross save, I'm like, well, duh, of course I'm going to do this.
Well, so like it's at 200. Oh yeah, it has cross save.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is they're cross saving across all of it, everything, every platform. So like I said, you could be on the Switch and you could share your save with your PC version. Anyway, not that I do that, but the point is,
can you update your saves?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. All that.
I've like put like a solid amount of time in Witcher 3 and I'm just barely done. I'm almost done the main campaign.
Yeah, all that'll move forward.
Maybe it'd be good like on the couch or something. Maybe I would actually pick up Witcher 3 to finish on the Xbox.
See, your head's right where mine was at. So I did that, and I didn't know this when I started it. You can start a new campaign, or you can start at either one of the DLCs, and it'll start you appropriate level and gear. And you can just play those. I didn't know that. And I was tempted for a hot second, but then I said, Scott, you never fully finished the main campaign. You came close on PC, but you never quite did it. Do you really feel good about jumping straight to Monkeys and Wine or whatever it's called? What's it called?
Monkeys and Wine.
Blood and Wine?
Blood and Wine.
Yep. You were close.
Monkey Blood is what I was thinking of. But did I feel good about just diving into that and playing DLC as if it was a new game? I just couldn't do it. It just felt weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so long. Like for me, I've almost got every single undiscovered location, like every little place in the water where you can find a barrel. Like I think I spent 10 hours just digging up barrels out of the ocean. I feel really invested in that save file, but it's been so long since I've played it. The momentum of the story and everything that's transpired has been so long. I want to see it again. Yeah. And I also kind of want to do the Dandelion quest line again.
It's fun.
There's just part of me that just wants to go hunting for that scamp and performing in a play and all that Geralt. How ridiculously long and involved just finding the NPC gets. I'm like, when am I going to get to talk to Dandelion?
Well, CD Projekt Red put out a video showing comparative screens between the current version and this new version, and it is strikingly good looking, the new one. So I'm really excited. It's going to become kind of new again, and I don't know why, but there's the two 2015 games I installed. One of them I played for 3 hours, and of course, Witcher 3 is always good. That patch is on the 17th, so you don't have to be early like me, but all your stuff will carry over once it hits. Then I found another Survivors like that I need to talk to John about mostly because I think I found one that he is going to love. Okay.
All right, let's have it.
I think you'll like this. Let me see if I can find some decent video for the chat. There it is. Okay. So this is called Bone Razor Minions. Okay.
I hate the name,
All
but
right.
that's not always a good metric for
Right, because Vampire
game.
Survivors is a great name.
Right. Right. I agree. Vampire Survivors is just as dumb of a name, but again, doesn't have the cachet yet because you haven't played it. So this game is one of these. It's done in a retro style, so more akin to, say, Vampire Survivors, although this is a little bit more like, I don't know what to call this. I don't know what to
It's
compare
like
it to.
16-bit era,
Yeah.
SNES or something.
Yeah, like SNES, Genesis kind of era looking stuff. Here's what you do. You pick a class, which you unlock many of them, and you go out into this kind of a graveyard is where you start. And as you run around, there are some bones laying around already. You pick up this guy's playing during an event. That's why there's the Halloween shits all over the place. This game actually has events. Anyway, you pick up these bones. They gravitate towards you, kind of like XP does in Vampire Survivors and such. And the stuff that's just laying around is there because at first you don't have a way of collecting new stuff, and I'll explain why in a second. But as you pick up these bones, you acquire new abilities, and their abilities are to spawn and in some cases upgrade minions. You're a necromancer. And this guy's playing with a standstill build, which drives me nuts, but whatever. I don't like that particular way of playing. But anyway, so every time you get the bones or you go to get your upgrades like you're used to in these games, you can choose from, well, let's see, I want to spawn a bomber guy or I want to spawn an archer. And at first they're all question marks. You have to discover them. That's kind of fun in its own right. And then you've now got these green minions that run around with you and do their abilities. You never fire a shot. You never swing a thing. You don't do any actual weaponing.
You just collect like a lazy-ass necromancer.
You move while your people do the damage. And you got to be smart about how you're building out your army because, good builds still matter. Sometimes you'll pick up active abilities that you initiate, but they're more like one-offs, like a special potion or a thing that rains down acid and kills everybody or whatever. You'll get those over time. And unlock more as you go. There's a whole unlock thing for skills and talents, of course. And the goal is to just go as long as you can. It's again, it's a Vampire Survivors like. I really like this game. The reason I thought John would like it is because it's like Vampire Survivors in that you aren't. It's just a move around game, right? You're not really, there's no 8 other buttons to use. So
right.
Bo probably wouldn't
up
like
your
this.
other hand for other stuff.
Drinking a soda.
Yeah, like a drink or
Yeah.
French fries. Whatever.
Sure. Flicking somebody in the butt, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, whatever you're doing.
And it gets super intense. It's got a great sense of humor. All of the flavor text is stuff like thine necroblast hath rendered your enemies, flattened or some stupid. They talk all biblical all the time, and it's actually pretty funny. One of the character choices is a vampire survivor. And a guy, there's another one.
Good.
There's a guy named, and he has abilities that are like vampiric, and he survives longer. It's stupid. And then there's a guy named, there's one like, I think it's like Brother Potato or something. So they're riffing
okay.
on.
So they're leaning into the genre in a big way.
Oh, big way. Yeah. They're like, hey, we're in this. We know what we are, and we're having fun doing it. It's got really good reviews. People really like it. I think this is a really neat take on the formula with this twist of raising an army instead of you being the one-man army is makes things very interesting in terms of where you're going and when, how to behave with certain mobs.
I have a guess at a criticism just seeing this footage though.
Yeah, what's that?
Why is the map so small?
Oh, they're different maps. It's
So
not
do
really
they have those infinite maps, because one of the distinguishing things is that the maps go infinitely, and this one seems to be a very small arena.
Oh, I didn't realize they were infinite in Vampire Survivors, are they? I thought they had walls.
Yep.
Oh.
No, they'll go forever. The library puts a limit on your vertical movement up and down, but it will go forever left and right.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because everything I've been playing, including Soulstone Survivors, the other one, what's the other one I played? Anyway, they all have some sort of ceiling.
Brotato.
Yeah, Brotato, that's it. That has more of an arena thing where you are kind of locked in. I think it makes it more intense and more fun. I actually prefer it than just going infinite. But it's, just a different take, I suppose. Lots of weird minions to build and crazy shit, crazy effects. I ended up thinking I was just going to poke my head into this. It was like $5. It was cheap. And I played till 2:00 in the morning the other day. That's how much.
How easy is it to tell what's yours versus what's theirs? Because without any frame of reference, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I feel like I would have to be avoiding everything, but some of this is your guys, right?
Yeah, most of it is not most of it. A lot of it is your guys. So as a general rule, your minions are green, like undead green, kind of looking zombie kind of color, and they stand out because none of the enemies are that. Nothing ever quite looks like your people. It does take a little getting used to because there's a lot going on. You're going to have to oh, yeah, okay. But once you get the feel for it, it's like, okay, all the green guys are following me and doing what I need them to do. And everything else is like these little army guys, and they're in white, and they're wearing armor, and, you just sort of get used to it.
And we should really make one of these.
I mean...
It's like millions of dollars just waiting for us.
Yeah, let's do it. The classes will be John, Scott, and Bo.
These games are so hot right now, and I sincerely believe, without actually being sarcastic, I'm not going to say made in a day, but this is probably one of the lower end efforts that you could do. Right? You can make an RPG and write 1 million words and have to have a story that's coherent, or you can program a controller to go up, down, move left, right, and some collision detection, and then just keep turning up the knob. Like, I can picture it, I can kind of see how I might actually realistically do it.
Bo, take your afternoon that you said it would take to make this game and just make one for
It's not going to be an afternoon for
me. The other thing is...
I think this is within if you look at any game and think what's within reach that I could actually accomplish, being very realistic, I'm like, this feels like one of the closest things.
I don't disagree
I
with
have
that.
a lot to learn. But
you find a programmer friend, you could probably... Oh, here's a boss fight. You could probably
I can program it
things
myself.
out.
That's what I like. Or use
I feel that
engine.
way about Zork. That's about where my
you could use
caps out.
What is it? Not RPG Maker. What's the there's a 2D game engine that Hyper Light Drifter was made on that I've actually tooled around with.
Yeah, my daughter works in it.
Game Maker.
Game Maker. Is it Game Maker?
It's just called Game Maker, and the whole idea is it has a mobile package and a PC thing, and it eases sprite animation, program controls in, does collision detection for you. All I need are the art assets, the sounds, which the sounds are not that complicated. Some of these might have even been made in Game Maker. I can see it now, and I'm like, it's just putting in the work for it. And I'm like, then we can make a core survivors.
Pick John, pick Bo, pick Scott, pick your fighter, and then go do your thing. Look, I don't disagree. Sometimes the simplest concepts are the ones that take off and get crazy.
This isn't me being critical. This is me just being I actually think, seriously, I'm I might be able to make one of these.
Yeah, it's a cool game. It's a cool genre because I do think you're right. There's less walls in the way of maybe getting one of these done, but this one in particular is very creative, very interesting take on it all, and I think it shot up to my top tier, my top 3. I really like this. I still like Soul Survivors a lot, but this is probably a close second actually right now. I really like the way it plays. I think it's got a really fresh sense of humor. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It gets pretty crazy. You have skins and hats and clothes and all this stuff to unlock. He's got a little flame head right now in the video I'm showing, but you can...
I forgot what I was going to ask. Damn it. I got mesmerized watching your video replay. I was like, okay.
It's a lot of stuff. And
that is the one thing about the genre, when the battlefield gets full and you sort of just get lost in the visual insanity. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's very intense. I think it is definitely worth the money, and if you own a Steam Deck, it's just about perfect on there. So that was the other thing I want to say. All right, that's what I played this week. Those are my 2 games. I've been busy building this card game and had no other time for much else. Let's jump over to John, who has spent some time in Control Ultimate Edition. Actually, what makes it Ultimate, actually? I don't actually know.
I don't know. They typed that. They typed that on the game.
So it's just a thing they wrote.
I have no idea what they changed.
Okay.
But it was on sale on Steam. I think I had it on Epic, and it was like a couple bucks on Steam. And I was like, all right, let's see what this Ultimate Edition is for a couple bucks. I'll put it on Steam. Let's see. And I started playing it, and Control is a great game. I know you know this, Scott, because you played a lot of it, right?
It's very cool. I got very far too. I didn't quite finish it,
but I freaking love this game. Like, from its universe, the idea that you're in this thing called the Oldest House, that it's the Federal Bureau of Control, it's this government agency that's all about supernatural stuff, and it's this weird mishmash of like the mundanity of like office and government work mixed with paranormal things, like, you know, official memos saying like, hey, you're not allowed to bring anything that would be considered an iconic representation of the thing that it is. For example, like a rubber duck beyond this point. Like, that's an office memo is just, that stuff is really fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I had a hard time with Control the first time is I thought the game was really hard. And it still kind of is. I don't know if it's because I've been playing a ton of Fortnite and I've just gotten used to third-person shooters now. But I'm having a much easier time this go through on it. I am still shocked when somebody shoots me and all my health is gone from a single shot. And I'm like, oh no, this game is actually challenging. But it's just really cool, and it has a very satisfying ramp up of powers. You know, you start and it's like, hey, jump, and you jump like a human being, and you're like, oh boy, why'd they even put a jump button in this game? And then, you know, then you touch a magical carousel, and now you can air dash, and you're like, oh, this is why they put a jump button in this video game, because now I have supernatural powers.
Yeah, the air dash is pretty great. It feels really good once you get it.
Yeah.
Did you
the gun is super cool.
Did you find the I find the map to be really obtuse and difficult. That's my only complaint about this game. How do you feel about the map?
It seems like it would be useful, but it's like a whole button you have to press to pull it up, and like you're already at a disadvantage because you're in a place where the world changes. Like, you know, sometimes one room will be there, and then at other times that room will just be gone. Like, because the whole narrative is that you are in a building that shifts and changes. And they don't do it too much. Usually you can rely on the map, but I know that was one of the big weird moments early on in the game that they don't really explain, is like, you're walking through this hallway and at no point did you double back, but all of a sudden you end up back where you started.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this place is messed up. So I don't use the map as much as I should, because I do get lost. I do have a tendency to get lost. So, you know, but I think that's also kind of a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's part of it for sure. I just got toward the end, I was starting to feel impatient with me running down the wrong hall. And most of it came down to, well, if this map wasn't so weird, I'd probably be fine. But I don't want to blame it on the map. It was probably more me. I'm directionally challenged when it comes to maps. So
sorry, go ahead.
What I find is very interesting about the game is that I have somehow, because I'm the person that's like, hey, your objective's to the left, and you give me a left and right choice, I go, okay, well, I'm going to go to the right and see what's down there, and then I'll go to the left. Like, I intentionally try to go the wrong way all the time in video games. And somehow this game, without me really trying, I constantly find myself on the critical path. And I don't know how, because the game feels at least more open than it seems. And all of a sudden it's like, oh no, here's your objective that you were working on. I was like, well, I wasn't trying to get to the objective. I was trying to explore. Somehow I still wound up here. So they're doing something intuitive with it that I'm not consciously aware of, because I didn't pull up the map very often.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good early on, especially sending you down the right path. But what were you gonna?
I was gonna ask about, because I've recently discovered this whole thing about liminal spaces, which is, it's like an office or public area, but like abandoned, but still lit.
Oh yeah.
There's whole games that are just like discovering liminal spaces, I think they're called.
I love it.
Including some VR games. Does it evoke any of that? If you even know what it is, but I'm just wondering if it
A little bit, like, because it's got a very eerie tone. The idea is that this was a fully functioning like office building, uh, and then it got taken over by this thing that just like takes over your body and mind controls you. So you're walking through an office, and there will just be people floating above their desk. So it's
That's
not
neat.
exactly abandoned because you've got people there, but they're not doing anything. So you kind of still feel all alone at the same time. It's got a really unique vibe, and then every now and then you do something really weird, and it evokes other things. Like there's a spot pretty early on where you just get transported to a cabin in the woods, and it's just supposed to represent all the like middle of the woods, Pacific Northwest like road motels that you could stumble upon, and you just explore one of those as part of it at random. And it's got a really neat vibe. It's got a really interesting story. The more I read of the memos and watch, there's a full like acted out live action videos that you discover in the world, talking about these crazy objects of power and stuff like that. It's just a fascinating universe, and it's kind of, you take as much as you want. Like you can play it like an action game, but the reward you get for reading all that stuff is really interesting. Like the idea that this gun you're running around firing, which is made up of nothing but like cubes, uh, they suspect it might have been Excalibur at one point, that it's a weapon that changes depending on the time and the intent of the wielder, and that this item might be every epic weapon throughout history, that you're now wielding as a gun and sometimes a shotgun and other things. Like it's just such a cool notion and such a cool idea.
It's got such rad vibe, everything about. I mean, these are this is the Alan Wake people. It's the what are the old those bullets?
Remedy?
No, what am I trying to think of? The old series with the Rockstar owns it now. They made a third one.
Max Payne.
Max Payne, geez.
Yeah.
So these guys have always had this like, they've been in touch with like, hey, what's the cool style thing we can pull off? And I think this game feels like a movie I want to see, And this liminal space stuff Bo's talking about, I love that aesthetic. Huge fan. Like the place is empty. It's freaking weird. What was all this?
VR?
Is there a VR mod? I don't think there is.
I think there's a Steam game. Let me look. I could be wrong, but yeah, liminal.
Oh, is there? Oh, there's a game that explores that kind of stuff. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought maybe I could be mistaken, but yeah, like there's there's video game experiences and mods of liminal spaces, and
I like that stuff a lot.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Stanley Parable, or even like Portal is a great example of this. Like Portal's, you always feel like something weird underneath, like something's about to break through these horrible walls, and in the meantime, though, I'm in this really clean testing space that clearly no one's here anymore. Like, why? Why am I the only one here? Why is the robot running everything? Like, I love those tropes, and Control is full of that stuff. So it's very cool. Plus, it looks really good on ray traced hardware.
Oh yeah, if you have a graphics card that can do ray tracing, this has one of the most impressive effects with ray tracing, which is partial reflections in glass, and it just looks so good in this game. It's amazing what one little technology thing like that will do to a game. Because I accidentally launched without it the first time, because you have to launch DirectX 12, I think, to be able to see it and utilize it. And I think just by default, I'm used to clicking the top option. I went in with DirectX 11. I was like, isn't this supposed to look better than this?
Yeah.
I exited out, went back in. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, there it is.
Makes
look
a
at
giant
it. Look
difference.
at how good it looks.
Yeah. Console versions look really good too. They use some ray tracing on those. And for a while here, this was like such a showcase for like new hardware. And now you can run this on your Steam Deck with like zero issues. It plays really well on there. So another little Steam Deck nod today. Nice. That game's cool. And if you find it on the cheap especially, you should grab it, everybody. You've been playing more Marvel Snap. How's that going? I guess there's new cards today, right?
Yeah, there's a bunch of new stuff in an update that they did. They've added a new way to kind of help fill out your decks because eventually with the collections, you do get to a place where you're not getting new cards. You're getting collector packs that might have a title, it might have an avatar, it might have a card variant, it might have currency, and it might have a card for the pool that you're currently pulling from, which makes it very hard to fill out. Once you kind of hit pool 3, and now they've got pool 4 and pool 5 added to the game now as well. Um, so they've added this new mechanic where if you go to the store, there's a new currency called collector's tokens, and I think if you've already reached pool 3, they by default have given you a bunch of them. And every 8 hours they switch what the featured card is, and you can just buy that card, and you can just add it to your deck and just spend your collector's tokens on it. And this new currency has given them another new currency that they can add as a reward for various activities that you do in the game, which does need to be done. Like, I would say one of the things I hate about this game is that you unlock credits as a reward as you're going through. Like, because nothing feels worse than I spent credits to upgrade a card so that I could hit a new tier and open a chest and unlock credits. Like, less credits than it costs to upgrade the card. Like, that just doesn't feel good. It never feels good. It's like getting change back on a purchase, but you didn't get what you wanted from the purchase.
Yeah.
It's just a very odd mechanic. And so this gives you another currency that they can do. And the other cool thing about it is a lot of these new cards are like very unique, very different. I had somebody who must have the Thanos card already in a game that I played. They started playing all the Infinity Stones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were very excited because I guess a whole mechanic of the Thanos card is you have to collect all the Infinity Stones, which they did.
Right.
And so this person had to be stoked, and then I left the game before they could play Thanos.
Zing.
So they
Yeah.
went to all that work, and I was like, yeah, you're not going to get to play. You're not gonna play this card. I'm leaving. I'm just gonna quit.
I guess Ibit got that card today and was trying to explain to me that it's really double-edged sword. If you don't have all the stones, you're really risking things. Or something. I don't totally understand the mechanic, but it's kind of cool. I like that's in there. Yeah.
This guy built the perfect deck, and he got very lucky, and he collected all the stones by like turn 4 or 5. And I could just see Thanos looming on the horizon. I already wasn't doing particularly good. I was like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of playing your Thanos card. Get out of here.
Yeah.
He went to so much work. It's like if Thanos could actually be foiled by just turning off the movie. Like, he finally gets the last stone, you're like, nah, click, there. Avengers 1, turned you off, you're done.
What if he didn't have it in his hand?
I mean, he might not have, but I wasn't going to win anyway, so we'll never know.
So the other thing he said about it, what did he tell me I thought was interesting? He said, oh, no, that wasn't it. It was something else. Crap, I don't remember. There was something about Thanos. Oh, I know what it was. We talked about it was weird that Thanos, one of his abilities wasn't, or his key ability wasn't removing 50% of the cards off the board. Because of Thanos' whole thing of just cutting civilization in half. I'm surprised that's not the mechanic. Maybe that's game breaking. I don't know.
I think they leaned into the Infinity Gauntlet aspect of it. Yeah. Maybe that happens when you play Thanos and have all the Infinity Stones out. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw an article that suggested, and this would probably kind of go against the idea, which is that buying cards should only be cosmetic. But like, I read an article today that was suggesting, wouldn't it be neat if card variants actually did slight tweaks to the power set of the card that you got the card variant for? Yeah. So for cards where it's like, oh, well, it would make, more sense, or obviously Thanos collecting Infinity Stones, that makes sense, but like what you just said, right, removing 50% of the cards, that I can also see being a cool Thanos power. Maybe if you got a Thanos variant card, they could lean into a different fantasy with that. I think that's a cool idea, but I do think it also goes against the principle of, card variants are purely cosmetic only in nature.
I think it would be called pay to win at that point.
Yeah, you're probably right.
that you got to walk a fine edge before you invoke that. And I think if someone, well, this guy paid to have a better version of Thor, that's why he won, or whatever the best deck is. You know?
But they could always release another card where they're just like, hey, here's Infinity Thanos. He's already got the glove. He's looking real happy, and he can have different powers.
They got Jane Foster Thor and Chris Hemsworth Thor.
Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff.
They're both called Thor, so I mean, you could do Thanos, Karen Thanos.
Yeah.
The Thanos copter. Let's bring it back.
What's
again.
the other? There's a Thor, Lizard Thor. Beta Ray Bill. You could do. You could bring that guy in.
Yeah, you can bring it. You can bring in Beta Ray Bill and Throg.
Throg, right?
Thor.
Forgot about Throg.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game. I actually really like how deep they can go.
Yeah,
because the roster's.
That's
just so
the one
crazy.
thing I wish they would do. Like the cost of cards, if you break down like what credit cost of the card is and what that translates to gold, is insanely high.
Yeah.
And most of the card variants are not actually very good. I would really
You
like
don't want
to
to pay
see them
$20
double
for a
down.
pixelated shit version of a card.
Yeah, the
every
pixelated ones are
versions
so
trash.
ugly.
You're not the
Yeah,
only
they're-
ones to say that. Everybody I talk to hates those. I like pixel art, but I just don't. I think they're weird. It's a weird fit here.
They're not good. It's not good pixel art. Like
Yeah.
it just does, you have these beautiful, like high res photos in the PC version, and you get this pixelated blue Marvel that kind of looks like a splotch of blue.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
really bad. They need more variety, and I think if they had more variety, maybe they would be able to bring the price down because people would be more inclined to buy them. But like,
I think
so
the people
many
who
of
are
them are
buying them
ugly.
are buying them, but like I have no, and I'm someone who will spend on cosmetics, so I really like something. I have zero interest in it.
I bought one,
In
and the one I bought was
Absolutely.
because it was the Colossus. It was the Colossus from like 1991 Marvel cards.
Oh yeah. those
Like
are
it was
cool.
literally that version of that card, and I was like, hell yes! And I immediately forked over the money to buy it. So that's my Achilles heel. You put those 1991 art cards in this game, I will buy it every single time. Be like, hell yes! Cards were never better than this moment, right?
Yeah, I kind of agree. You know what's funny? It just occurred to me. Somebody mentioned NFTs in the chat. If NFT chatter hadn't slowed down, I would have feared for this game. Like if there hadn't been a massive withdrawing of NFT interest and also crypto crash and all that, I would have worried that this would have been Marvel's avenue to sell us a bunch of NFT shit based on these cards. You know what I mean? I'm not, I'm making that up because who knows if they would have, but it sure feels like it. Because this stuff is
Kinda
cool,
does.
man. That's the whole point. They
Probably had meetings about it. That
They
probably came up.
probably did. I mean, why wouldn't you? Well, that's cool. I'm glad.
I
you're
gotta
still...
say, like the game is still good, taking nothing away from it. But I find my interest has been waning. Maybe it's just because of Darktide, but I don't know. Has your interest diminished?
My
in the game?
desire to climb the ladder has, like, as it's gotten harder, like, it's the meta shifts so wildly. Like, I'll go on a winning streak where I'm like, oh, great, I've created an invincible deck, and I'll win 15 matches in a row and be like,
Wow.
great, I have the best. And then I'll play that night, and I'll lose just as many one after another off of weird, like never seen before combinations. Like, what the hell is this? Like, just insane builds. And it's just based on when people are playing, and it's kind of crazy how much it swings depending on who's going at what time. Like, I need to stop playing late at night because that's when all the tryhards come out. Although I had a guy who played the most try-hard deck I have ever seen in my life. Like, it existed deliberately to just be like, I'm going to try and mess with you, and I'm going to mess you up, and look at these weird meta picks I've made. Like, it wasn't exactly Ben Brode's, like, asshole deck that he published, because he did put out, like, this is a build I deliberately did just to mess with people, but it was close to that. And this guy was trying so hard, and he still lost, and I just... It was one of the most satisfying wins because this guy was clearly trying to just annoy me through the entire match with like, look at this, look at this, look at this, and then I beat him by 2 points at the end on one location. I was like,
oh snap!
Oh,
so
snap is
much
right.
effort for so little payoff, sir.
That's great.
But yeah, I'm definitely more casual than I was, for sure.
Tell me more about, tell me all about World of Warcraft Dragonflight so far. I know it's early, but you got the expansion.
Yeah.
You're the one of us to bite. And what do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I bought Dragonflight. Let's get into it. I definitely feel like I need to preface this a little bit.
Go for it.
Okay. I used to do, as you guys know, but for listeners who might not, I used to do a World of Warcraft podcast.
Yep.
Like
What?
Like many of us.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Was I on it?
You were on it. You both were on it,
yeah.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I've been
at
on it a few
various
times. Azeroth Roundtable, for those wondering. It was a great old show. You guys did great on there.
So it was a good time. I WoW has been a part of, it's part of why I know you guys. It's part of why I'm on this show. Big long history with it. I spent a long time on that show describing what I would have considered the perfect version of WoW. Saying, man, I wish WoW did this. Man, I wish WoW did this. Wouldn't it be cool if WoW did this? There's a lot of that on the show.
Sure.
Just go read our reviews. They'll tell you with 1 star how much I said that. And then when I kind of fell out of interest with WoW, I went and tried other things, and I found out that the game I was describing and wishing WoW was kind of exactly already out there, and it was called Final Fantasy XIV.
Mm.
And I fell in love with that game, and I've been playing that game for over 2 years, and I haven't played WoW for 2 years.
Yeah.
Going back now to WoW is a little weird, because it's now taking those things that I constantly had been saying, I wish WoW did this, and then going and finding that being done someplace else, and now going, okay, I need to pretend like I don't care about those things anymore. I need to be okay that my character isn't prominently featured in cutscenes.
Right.
I need to be okay that this quest text doesn't really matter that much and can kind of be skipped through because it's not that important.
Right.
I need to be okay with the fact that when I take a quest, there are going to be 4 others that pop up because they want me to go out and kill shit immediately. Hey, John, kill some stuff.
Yeah.
It's been 2 minutes since you killed something. Go kill something.
Yeah.
And you need to be okay with that. And it's fine, but it has taken me just as long as it took me when I did go to Final Fantasy going, wow, this game's really weird. Now I'm feeling that way again going back to WoW. And it's taking an adjustment to go back to that.
Yeah.
And to go back to that style. Like, I remember when I did play Final Fantasy, I was like, I hate how this controls.
Yeah.
And I was like, why can't this control directly like WoW? Well, now it's been 2 years. Now I'm going back to WoW. I'm like, why can't this control like Final Fantasy XIV? I'm just the exact opposite argument.
Yeah.
That being said, I have heard from enough people who have either stayed all in on WoW or are way into it that this is good to know that if you like WoW, this is a good WoW expansion. They're doing the right things with it. And there is some stuff that I really, really like about it. So I haven't done a ton on
flying.
That's what I'm getting to. So I haven't done a ton on my main getting to the Dragon Isles, but I did make a Drakthir evoker, and I've been really critical of how the Drakthir look. I still don't think they look great. But once you're in universe, seeing the cutscenes, playing it out, it's not the detriment that I thought it was going to be, where I was just like, God, how am I going to play this class and this character for hours? Like, I got over it pretty quick, and I was like, no, my dragon's cool. All the other dragons suck, but my dragon's cool. Like, it's kind of what you adopt. And you kind of get a preview of the dragon riding because they have the ability to kind of do this big soar move where they go in and they can simulate it. And that flying is really good. A lot of talk about, this came out of Guild Wars 2. That doesn't bother me that it's from another game. Games steal from each other all the time. And
I mean, it's flying.
Yeah, it's flying. But it turns out there's a reason they stole it. It's very satisfying. It's very fun. It feels very cool to leap into the air and kind of just do your navigation and flying through things and just land right at the quest point. I mean, it's the same principle that we had before where it was like, okay, get on my mount, fly up, fly to the thing, land. But it's more dynamic and action feeling than that. Like
Can you
it is.
crash?
I mean, you don't crash and like biff it, but yes, you could bump into something and land in the wrong spot.
I was
Or
hoping if Scott ever played it for some crazy videos, because every time he plays a game with real world physics like Just Cause, there's guaranteed to be a video.
Oh,
of
I
him
love
doing
to screw
something
around with
ridiculous.
it. I mean, I really like the feature in my brain's been bad. Guild Wars 2. And they did really true. From what I can tell, they freaking straight across lifted the idea. But one of the cool,
I had flying in an MMO first, so
and it's fine. Well,
doing
sure, but I guess what I mean is this training and this like turning your, starting with a basic thing and then working your way into something better, building that as a subsystem of the game. They definitely pulled it from those guys. But what I liked about it, and from what I can tell in the videos I've seen of Dragonflight, there is a momentum and physics to these mounts in Guild Wars 2 that is really satisfying. Like when you land, you feel like you're just like very weighty, and there's like a halting stop, and it feels like you moved with it, and it doesn't feel like a piece of plastic the way that mounts usually feel, or they're just kind of, I don't know, artificial. So John, I don't know, maybe you can speak to that. Do the dragons feel like meaty and heavy and physicsy and stuff like that?
well, I haven't done it on an actual because I haven't gotten my dragon yet on my main. So I've only done the flying that has been applied to the Drakthir race.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have the same meaty feel as a giant hulking dragon.
Right.
But it is more dynamic. So again, it's the same principle as before. I'm here, I'm going to fly to there. But instead of that being a weird cast bar and a very stiff like flight and land and then mount despawns, it feels epic and cool. Like it feels really good. It feels like you did something neat. And I think that it's not being overhyped when people get excited about it. I think it's a genuinely cool feature of the game. And it has made me excited to get my dragon mount on my main when I get to that part of the game.
Right.
Like that's something I'm now very excited for. Because I think it's cool. The much more open continent design, like you notice it right away. It looks good. Like WoW has never looked better than this. Like it's definitely good looking, although I am now really lamenting. It used to be a cool feature. Now I kind of hate it that WoW's day-night cycle is tied to our real life day-night cycle because I only get to play at night.
Yeah, I don't like that
playing
either.
at night.
Yeah.
But that's the only time. That's when baby's asleep, so that's when I get to play. And so I see these screenshots of people playing. They're like, "Look how beautiful the Dragon Isles are." I'm like, "It doesn't look like that for me.
Yeah.
It looks real dark."
Yeah.
But that's my own problem. It's my own issue to overcome. I should play more when the baby's napping instead of doing core notes.
Yeah.
I guess, but it's this feels more in line story, narrative, and world-wise, like what they did with Mists of Pandaria, which is one of my favorite expansions for this very reason, which is World of Warcraft is at its best when it is about the world. WoW is not good at being Game of Thrones, and they've been trying to be Game of Thrones for years now, and it's been bad. They've been trying to tell stories of like, here's epic rise and fall of characters and they've been trying to tell a very complicated story, and WoW just isn't designed for that. Like, its cutscenes aren't made for that. It isn't made to convey those things, which is why we see so much, well, you got to read the book, or you got to read the comic, or you got to listen to the audiobook that came out to really gain the full scope of the emotion of this moment. WoW just isn't great at that. But what it is great at doing is building a really cool world, filling it with stuff, and encouraging you to go and play and kind of discover that world. And this gets back to that. And that's the thing that I think is the most exciting about this expansion for me, is I want to go to the Dragon Isles. I want to discover what's going on there. You can't win me over just by going, "Hey, dragons." That's not super impressive to me. But going, hey, John, there's going to be a really big expanse to explore and check things out and learn about this place and learn about this world. And I go, well, I'm in. That sounds great. That sounds like a really cool thing to me. And so I'm very excited for all of that. I'm having a little bit of a harder time adopting my Final Fantasy brain back to WoW. And that's where I think there's some tension points for me with this, where it's been hard to get into. But real quick, I just want to say the new talent trees are awesome. They're really, really good. Although I feel intentionally trolled with the placement of Shiv, an ability I absolutely hate, being a prerequisite for evasion. Rogues know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. I'm just mad. It's fine. But
Rogue
and the
beef.
other,
We call that
so,
rogue beef. Yep.
Yeah, rogue beef. So talent trees are amazing. And I will also say that, what was the other thing I want to talk about? What's the new features? There's new feature. Oh, the UI. The UI.
Oh, yeah.
I'm playing WoW without mods, and it feels incredible. And they need to just keep going with
I've heard
this.
really good things about that. Yeah, that's good to hear from you as well.
Like, I cannot tell you, when I reinstalled WoW, I let out an actual sigh at my computer going, do I have to figure out how mods work again for this game? I am so sick of dealing with mods. I hate it so much. I love that WoW supports it, like, for people that want it, but I am so sick of it being a prerequisite for playing this game. And the UI changes are incredible. It's one of the best things Blizzard has done to the game. I hope they double down on it. I hope they do a Blizzard version of every popular mod out there and put it into the game in a logical way, because I don't necessarily think Blizzard should outright ban mods, but I think that they should feel far more optional than they actually are, and this was the first big step towards it, and I love it.
Nice. That's good to hear.
Really,
I've
really good.
heard really good things about that, so that's great to hear that from you, because that was one of the things I was most curious about. If you go to Ouroboros or what is it? Ouroboros, is it a spirit Halloween now, or what is it over there? Just a big empty nothing?
I don't know. That's where I started, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get out of here. I mean, like, that's the thing is it's very hard to be like, yeah, this narrative's important, pay attention to it, when I'm literally just like going through my quest log, abandoning stuff, having the Lich King pop up and be like, champion, there's something urgent happening. We need you to do. And I'm like, shut up. We're going to the Dragon Isles.
Yeah,
shut up.
See you later, buddy.
I don't have time for you. I gotta go ride dragons. I don't care anymore. And I've got a little blinking icon on my map telling me my Sanctum bullshit from Shadowlands is ready for a turn-in. I'm like, I need this to go away. I don't care. It's not an important part of my life anymore. Like, just be gone. I don't need to know what's going on with Shadowlands. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, there you have it. Relatively brief look at
stop play it.
The game. I mean, I'm tempted just because it's the first one I haven't touched, and it just feels weird not to. So.
That's kind of what got me in. We talked a little bit about this. Some people may be familiar with it, but Preach Gaming, Preach, who's been well known in the World of Warcraft community for a while, did a behind-the-scenes video with Blizzard talking about changes. And I heard so much stuff from the developers that wasn't like the canned, typical Blizzard response about their thoughts and feelings and opinions on the game that it made me a believer. And I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt and try it. And while it is a bit of a bumpy road getting back into it, I think that this is a really strong first step. Even if Dragonflight ends up not being your cup of tea, I went from writing off WoW, like going off of the back of BFA and Shadowlands and just going, I don't think they're going to figure this out, to where, regardless of where I land on Dragonflight, I think the game is back to having a future. Yeah. Which is a huge swing for them.
I agree.
Shit.
Yeah,
that's
a big
deal.
Having
a future?
I mean, they kind of needed
movie to Back to the Future.
It's your kids, Marty. No, they had to do something, right? It had to be drastic.
Yeah.
Or else, honestly, I was so done with Shadowlands.
Any sign? How's the reputation situation in this game?
So supposedly there aren't any, but
Yes.
I am gaining rep while I'm questing, but that's also not something that has ever really happened during your leveling.
It's
So I'm
fine if
not.
it's just like an ancillary thing that's around.
Yeah.
But
You don't want to
like,
grind
you
it
know,
later.
Battle for Azeroth is like you continue questing once you reach Exalted with whatever. I'm like, I'm out. That's why I quit. I'm out. I don't want to fill a bar to get content.
Doesn't this all? It all sort of depends on endgame. I mean, endgame's what everybody always says. Well, that's where things really matter. There's never been a bad early experience in any WoW expansion, so maybe some of this will change. But I hope for the better. I don't. I mean, the endgame systems aren't really relevant yet while you're leveling, right? You're not going to see that. So
Right, and I have always said that even Shadowlands, Warlords of Draenor, the expansions I consider real low quality ones, I had a great time leveling through them. So I expect to be feeling the same way about this as I go through it. Like I've always loved the leveling and the initial questing. It is a question of what happens when I get to the end, once we're done. But I'm excited to see it, and I'm not just doing it because I feel like I have an obligation. Like it genuinely has interest me, and it's genuinely compelling to try. I think it would be worth a look if you liked WoW and are curious. I think it's worth a look, but if you're out, I don't think this does anything drastically different to say like no, definitely come back in, at least not yet, beyond being a good WoW expansion, so far.
Did you try the new crafting?
I haven't.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never been a crafter, but I've heard good things
Heard good
about
things
it. I've
there,
heard
too, yeah.
surprisingly good things
yeah.
About it, and it seems like it's good, but I'm never a crafter in a game. I used to do it because I felt I had to for raids. But
Yeah, you gotta get your
was it.
elixirs and your buffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your meat, your feasts,
Yeah, your meat.
your meat.
Yeah, you got to bring the meat, the feast, and all that shit too.
I'm really, I'm curious. It's weird. I'm 1 year, not even quite a year away from the 20 years since I entered the friends and family beta of the game, and
Wow.
19 years before, or 19 years of the game existing. And to say this is the first time I'm not playing is a very weird thing to say. Like, it's odd for me. So these are all good things, John. I'm glad you came to talk about it, because I don't know. I still don't know what I'm going to do.
Dragon flying looks cool. Like I understand World of Warcraft, and I always have a little bit of excitement because the cinematics are amazing, and I just love the style of it. But the gameplay, it's like, lately, the past few expansions since Legion has been like, well, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And Dragonflight is really sexy. Like, it just looks really cool. Like, it's seeing the videos of people flying around, that alone has been like, maybe I should try it. Like, it's the strongest marketing tool of this expansion, is not the cinematics. And surprisingly, shockingly, they have been among my least favorite of them, let's say, put it politely.
I
Of all
agree.
the cinematic.
I agree.
And the Dragonfly has been like, which is nice because usually the gameplay is not what's selling me on a World of Warcraft expansion. It's like, look at the characters and look at the cinematics and look at all the narrative outside of the game. It's the game itself this time around.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that's like, wants to see the talent tree and wants to feel the game again. I've been a little WoW curious, I guess, which is a little different from the last two. BFA I tried it, but I was not excited, and I definitely was meh on Shadowlands. But I'm like, man, that dragon flying seems cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish I don't know if it's enough. Like, I'm close. I was close. I think I was going to actually pick it up. And then I found out Midnight Suns is coming out this week, and I've been playing Darktide came out, and that kind of just went. I think I got enough to occupy my time, Like, I think I'm okay,
That was the big hurdle for me too. Is I was like, I only really plan to play through the leveling experience. I don't plan on seeing this through for the entirety of the thing. Yeah, maybe get some game time from resubbing. Maybe we can figure this out. Maybe we can get through it in time. And then I saw Midnight Suns and I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I don't know if I should do this, but I definitely got FOMO seeing all my friends jumping back into it. And I was like, I want to ride a dragon.
Yeah.
So
it was hard to ignore.
I'm going to ride the dragon.
I would argue that the chatter's a little lower this time than I usually see in the wake of an expansion within my circles, but I think that might be because people are just busy playing it,
Yeah.
And that's
I definitely is. I logged in and I was the only person in my guild on. In subset of guilds, to be clear.
Sure.
Like, our guild is multiple guilds all together, but of my subset, I was the only one on there. And because I didn't do mods, I couldn't talk to anybody else because we have a mod that lets us talk between the guilds. I don't have it.
Right,
so I was just like, it's a guild of one. It's me.
Remember back in the day, I remember it was 2010 that they forced us to do that when they changed the way guilds worked and we had to fragment it. That was, I can't believe it was that long ago now. Freaking 12 years ago. Jeez. Well, anyway, awesome stuff. Bo, let's jump to you and talk about Darktide, which you have been playing pretty incessantly. Oh, first of all, just check in on your fingers and stuff. How's your hands?
My hand's still cramped, but it is healing. It does feel better, but it is still, like right now, it's still cramped. I had to take an ibuprofen earlier today. I've been ice packing it still. I set a doctor's appointment because we're closing in on 3 weeks, but it has been very... If there's an opposite of speed running, my hand is whatever the opposite of speed running healing. It feels like it's taking forever, and it's probably because I'm playing Darktide, even though I should take a few days off. Because that's what I feel the pain increase the most, even if it's just a little bit. It always feels like at the end of Darktide, maybe I shouldn't have played.
I could see that.
And I did take a day off because they closed the servers down the day before launch, which was nice.
Yeah. Forced respite on your part. Sure.
Yeah. So Darktide, I mean, I talked a bit about it. I don't know what more there is to say. There's a lot of chatter going on. So I guess maybe I would just address the negative comments that have been going around about the game.
What's the progression complaint?
If you got an RTX... Oh, sorry, what?
I keep hearing complaints about progression. Why is that a thing?
I mean, if you remember Vermintide progression,
yeah,
then you know what the progression is here. It's the same thing, like, except there's no loot boxes. You might get an item at the end of the run if you pick up all the grimoires.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, and you get some for penance rewards, which are the game's achievements. But they don't dole it out. You don't get guaranteed 3 items or more in a chest sort of situation at the end of missions.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a shop. You earn gold. You go to the shop. There's a random assortment of items in there. Just buy what you want. It's fine. Sometimes you don't have an item there, but maybe the next day it'll have something.
That sounds kind of shitty to me. But
I
gotta try it.
I've been fine with it. Like what I understand is progression is slow. This game's not like after every mission you're going to get an awesome reward. And that didn't feel that way when I played Vermintide. Oftentimes it'd be like junk. Once you got like a weapon you like, it's mainly junk. It's slow progression. The progression's the same in terms of talents. You get talent tree choices at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Exact same as Vermintide. Cosmetics you can unlock through achievements, through leveling up. And there's, of course, a FOMO store where you can buy awesome gear. By the way, whoever gifted us Darktide, thank you again. They gave us the Imperial Edition, so I've got rich people clothes on while everyone's wearing convict outfits. I was playing my level 6 guy, and I'm like full like camo gear and all these like who are these like poor convicts in their incarceration clothes hanging out with me. Wow. So they spent extra money just to deck me out and deck us all out, I presume. So that's nice. Yeah. Although I think you should be forced to wear prison duds up to level 5 just because you need some hazing. There's very little story in the game. The story is we were going to execute you, but there was an attack. You get to live if you fight for our warband. Yeah. Otherwise, we can just airlock you. Your choice. So, it makes sense for you to be a noob in the warband until you earn some clothes. And I hate that people can buy their way around that. That kind of irritates me on a certain level.
Yeah.
Same way as Sea of Thieves.
Sure.
But anyways, just to address the chief complaints, progression is one of them that I've seen. These are people who expected. I don't know what they expected. I expected what Fat Shark delivered in Vermintide. That's what you get for progression. It's the same thing. So whether you liked it or not the first time around, you're getting the same thing around this time around.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. Yeah. And then towards endgame, I do have a level 30. You're just you're waiting and grinding for good gear, and then you can upgrade it. There are features still not in the game. It was a soft launch. There's stuff going to be added all through December that, including options to further customize your items, like change blessings and stuff. I'm not quite sure what it's all going to be. You can just see it's grayed out. So they weren't ready with that, but
and that's a bit of a bummer, because I will say from my experience with the time we played, and then my little bit of experience with it since its early release, I have consistently felt like this game is good, but lacking. Like, I have a constant feeling of not enough with the game. And I think that slowly rolling out features like they are doesn't feel good when you already feel like, man, the biggest issue with this game is just not enough. Not enough weapon variety, not enough mission variety, not enough loot, not enough cosmetic variety, not enough enemy types.
I mean, do you think after their first delay, which was sizable, and then, I don't know, maybe they just needed more time to bake and have less features come later?
I mean, yeah, clearly they're not ready for launch, but I look at it like it's like they're never going to be ready for launch, so it's just going to release like all stupid, and the game will eventually get good. And I'm like, I'm fine with that personally, because it's the game as a service kind of thing. Vermintide, they have a good track record with their previous releases. I know that the bugs,
they had bugs early on. Two was a mess on launch, so I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we're not talking. This isn't like, it is a pretty big studio. I think they got somewhere between 90 and 200 employees, but like it's just, I think my expectations are in check. Like, if I get fun levels to play, I'm good. Like, I don't, which is what I've been getting. Like, the nuts and bolts of the game are fantastic. Like, they're really good. So like all the sort of negatives, which they are negatives, like, I'm not going to take it away. I just feel generous about, because I'm like, I like the dinner I'm having, I guess, overall.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I'd agree, but we'll probably get new weapons. There's going to be new subclasses, like, clearly, because like my Psyker subclass is Psykinetic, and I'm like, Psyker Psykinetic. That just implies there's going to be like a Psyker something else later on. Like,
sure.
There'll be more subclasses. I think they're envisioning it more as a game of service, because there's going to be some seasonal stuff coming, which isn't in the game yet. So I'm anticipating we'll see DLC, I think, at a bit faster rate. Even if it's DLC, maybe it's just new missions. Like, maybe they don't put it behind a paywall. Because really, there's actually only 5 maps in the game, but 13 missions. And the maps take you to different parts. Like, you don't see the whole map in one mission. It's like you're like is it a Toma? Well, the city Tertium is one big giant arcology cityscape. And so it's like a maze that you got to run through. So they're able to reuse a lot of assets in a really creative way. But most of all, I can play the same mission 3 or 4 times over, and I'm just having a blast.
Yeah.
And the main reason is this, and it's the sort of thing that I get behind in games, is that I feel like I'm getting better at it. And I feel like getting better at it matters to teammates. So there's a performance aspect that I'm sort of getting something out of, which is like, I was a worse player a week ago, but I've played a lot of missions. I know all the sounds. I can react quickly. I know what to do in certain situations. And then as you crank up the difficulty, you are getting better. Just like in Diablo, how you crank up Torment. That's sort of how it feels. It's a non-linear game, so Vermintide has a linear story. This does not. It's more like Deep Rock Galactic. Just play a mission. So what keeps me coming back is this idea that I'm going to do better. And the matches themselves are white knuckle. You're just like, you get to these moments where there's literally like I think for one of these games on the harder difficulties, I've never seen as many enemies in a game.
Yeah.
Like I think this is cranking up to the limit how much they can throw at you in certain areas because some of those freaking hordes are a slog. Like it's a solid 5 minutes of just clearing and cutting and no, there's a sniper and blah. Like it's good and it's good. You're just like you're enjoying it. People go down. You're trying to survive. And I really especially like it when your three teammates go down and they can all watch your camera and you're like, I'm gonna save them all, and you manage to save them all and like solo and everyone's watching. Like it's got it where it counts, but I wouldn't take away any of the flaws. Sure, they could be more. There could be cooler shit for progression and shit like that. I would not say that that's not the case. And yeah, it feels like half a game. Sure, I can definitely see that feedback. But the soundtrack is bumping.
Oh,
the
so
kills
good.
are bloody. There's blood everywhere. It's dark. The color palette is awful. You can barely see the enemies. It's so good.
Chunky combat too. I
And
like that.
the combat feels great, and the classes are super distinct, and tons of voice acting. Each class, I think each class has 3 different voice lines for each gender. So there's actually a ton of different vocalizations for each of the classes. Like it's not as obvious, but in certain places, you're like a ton of work went into like putting this together, and the environments are just jaw dropping. Like for what it is. It's hard to say that they're jaw dropping because one of the other big issues aside from progression is if you got an RTX like 970, like good luck. That thing's gonna take a diarrhea inside your computer. You have to clean it up. Like the minimum requirements are almost like 3060. What I have, it feels like I have to play on medium with RTX off, and this is their recommendation. And I'm like, but what about people with worse cards? Like I think the next one down is like the 2080, and then everything else, good freaking luck. So if you have an older graphics card, this might not be a recommend right now anyways, because it is definitely not optimized or designed to be stable on a wide array of systems.
It's running really solidly. PS5 and 360, sorry, Series X are both apparently running very nicely. And I wonder if this is one of those games where they really focused on console development. And
I'm guessing maybe the requirements are set to low on those ones too.
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
Like I can run Doom Eternal 150 frames, 150 frames to 300 frames, RTX on. Maximum quality, no DLSS, and this game's like, dude, you have to run on medium, and it hurts me. Like I know 3060 is not a good card, but for 1080p gaming, it is a fantastic. Oops, sorry, it's a fantastic card.
Yeah.
Like I'm always shocked at how good it does because I feel like I have the budget line, but I will crank no DLSS and RTX on, even on medium for like a game like Cyberpunk, and it runs smooth.
Yeah.
Everyone's running 1440 and stuff. So with the 1080 resolution, I can get a lot of graphical juice out of most games. This game needs a lot of work.
Just needs some optimization, I think.
And I'm willing to turn a blind eye to a lot of the criticisms just because I'm hooked on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with you guys. I know this is our, it's going to be our date game with Kyle.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to play. I'm unfortunately going to have 100 hours of practice under my belt when we all start, but
It's all right.
I'll play a level 1 character, and
you'll help us dominate. It'll be fine. It'll all work out in the end.
It's a contender for Game of the Year for me. I might have to give Game of the Year technically to something else just because Elden Ring was really good, but it's a finalist.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing I've played all year, I think.
Well, there you have it. A awesome looking deal. I'm excited to get in more. I've kind of let it sit until a full launch just because I don't know why.
You might as well. I mean, it might not be the best time to play. It might be a month from now is the best time to play.
Yeah, who knows?
Might be even better in a little bit.
Yeah, who knows? Well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a break and go liquidate our bowels. Or maybe not that. Anyway, we're going to go do that. And when we come back, we'll talk more. The more stuff. We got things. We got Dear Martha. We got some other news to cover. We got some emails. All that and more. So come back shortly, won't you? Video's back, and now I hit this. And we've come back from our little break. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We're now going to do a little Dear Martha. And what we do here is, as you know, John puts together fantastic reviews of ancient video game magazines of yore. And we talk about them here on the show. So, John, let's get started. Anything special here? We just go for it.
Nope, just go for it.
All right, we are going for it. If I can be on the right tab. Okay, here we go. Whoop, wrong button. That's turned down. Okay, here we go.
My dearest Martha, with all the current day talk of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, it is no surprise I have found myself in May of 1993, reading Nintendo Power issue 48. The very issue where the fine folks at Nintendo Power preview the original Mario Bros. Movie. Spoilers, they think it's great, but it will ba-bomb.
Yep.
I'm getting ahead of myself though, Martha. Let's start with this cover featuring Batman. Judging by his facial expression, I believe this Batman was also granted an early screening of the Mario Bros. Movie. It's a face that says, I haven't felt this way about a film since I saw The Mark of Zorro. Of course, it's bad news for bats too. Glad you got that one, Scott. Because Batman Returns is also going to suck. And don't get all Tim Burton fangirly on me, Martha. It's a shitty movie, and the sooner we accept it, the sooner we can be okay with liking shitty things without having to sell it to other people. But let's not focus on the movie. Let's talk about the game, because reading the coverage of the SNES Batman Returns game reminded me of just how wonderfully stupid video games used to be, and how accepting we all were of it. I'm not trying to say things haven't improved, but I am saying that the Arkham games go out of their way to make it clear Batman doesn't kill. They include long, thoughtful nods to the decades of Batman lore and mythology. The SNES game has all of its power-ups being held by actual bats, be they hearts for health, his logo for points, or a test tube, so Batman can go full Heisenberg and blow up his enemies. It's just ridiculous, and we all thought it made perfect sense. Nintendo Power continues to be one of the more colorful, fun magazines I check out while in the past. Lots of maps, art, screenshots, and even some full comics. This issue has one where I was fairly certain it ended with Star Fox killing Falco. I read it like 3 times before it clicked that he's just sort of knocked out, which everyone is mostly okay with. I don't know, we worried a lot less about serious brain trauma in 1993. With Nintendo Power basically being a giant ad all by itself, there really aren't any fun ads to specifically point out. So let's just talk about their coverage of the Mario Bros. Movie. Of course they're excited about it, but one detail I love is how the magazine is really trying to set expectations. They make a point of clarifying all this is before the game, so all the characters will look different, be that Koopa, Yoshi, Luigi not having a mustache, or the Mario Brothers not wearing their typical outfits. Even more than that, though, is how much of the plot they give away. The only question they really leave is if Mario and Luigi win in the end. I assume they do. But it's a question I still don't actually know the answer to, because my family and I left the theater early. It wasn't a good movie. But hey, they took a lot of pictures of the cast and crew playing Game Boy, so see, they're just like us. I'm sure whatever cinematic adventures come next for the plumber will be great. If there's one lesson to take away from this, it's that even a perfectly cast Mario can't save a bad movie. So, maybe a not-so-well-cast Mario won't destroy a potentially okay one. Yours in time, S. Beckett 93.
Oh man, you're really nailing these endings. That was great. By the way, real quick question I got about this. I'm looking at the Falco deal, the Star Fox thing. The sound they use for the ship flying is Vashoo. Vashu. It's pretty good.
Vashoo.
Vashu.
I have something that jumped out to me about the article, which is when they're trying to get the celebrities to say a nice thing about the product.
Yeah.
Hoskins, who starred in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Hook, said playing Mario was, quote, a lark, quote. Not a great honor, not a lot of fun.
Wow.
It was a real lark.
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean?
I feel like there
That's
was a lot.
not even an adjective, is it? Like, what?
I like this description of Koopa. It says Koopa looks almost human, but he changes during the course of the movie to reflect his reptilian heritage. That's about it, I guess.
Yeah, they full on just tell you what this movie's about. Like, they're in the article, they're like, so it starts with them in Brooklyn, and then a portal opens, and they follow these princesses through, and it's just a crazy world. There's fungus on everything. Koopa's there. He's in charge of this thing. His plan is to de-evolve a bunch of people, and like, it just goes through the entire thing. They're like, Yoshi's in it. Like, check it all out. And then at the very end, they're like, but if you want to know if Mario and Luigi prevail, you're gonna have to go to theaters to find out.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the hook.
oh
Gotta get you in
man,
there.
that'll be a real twist if they don't. Like, wow, what a shock.
If you're a patron of the show, I'll be putting these images up on the Patreon post, and I'll also put them up on Twitter for anyone who follows us on Twitter at CorePod. So watch for that. All right, where the hell are we now? Oh, we got some other news of note. There's a new trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie, alluded to a little bit by John. A little nod there. I think that thing's looking great. Funky Kong's in it. All right. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, he is.
He's
So Cranky Kong.
Cranky
a lot
Kong.
of Kongs in
yeah,
there.
lots of Kongs.
Mario Kart's in it.
Yeah, Mario Kart's in it. There's karts in it anyway. What else? Some other stuff. A whole bunch of stuff people notice. There's all sorts of fan service happening on this thing. And we get our first taste of what Anna Taylor-Joy's voice work will be like for Peach. I think it sounds pretty great. I think Jack Black's continues to sound great. I think what's his bucket from Always Sunny in
Charlie
Philadelphia?
Day.
What's his name?
Charlie Day.
Charlie Day does the Luigi seems great. He seems fine.
Luigi's fantastic. Yeah.
Everybody's complaint remains is Chris Pratt the wrong guy for Mario. Everybody thinks.
What about that part where they cut out all the sound and it's Chris Pratt going woohoo?
Where did they? Oh, they did, didn't they?
At
Like,
the,
all the
at the
music
very
cut
end,
out.
he
It
just
was-
goes, wahoo!
Yeah, wahoo!
They did it on purpose to be like, I felt like it was a direct nod to be like, hey, you Chris Pratt haters, listen to him wahoo, and they cut the music.
Yeah.
And he just goes, and I was like, I don't think I liked it.
yeah.
I
It
don't
was
think
like
they should've-
shining
you
a
shouldn't have done that.
spotlight on a blemish. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not great.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
hate
Chris
it the
Pratt.
way I don't hate it the way everybody's hating on it. I think it's going to be fine. I agree that you just should have just had Martinet do it. He's or Martinet, however you say his last name.
Yeah, see, but I don't think he should have either. So somebody did a like one of those things where they can create an AI sample of a voice.
Yeah.
So granted, it's not the same as hiring him to come in and read the lines, but they had an AI simulation of his voice do the lines from the trailer, and I don't think it was good. I just don't think that Chris Pratt is good either. So everybody says, okay, well, who would you cast? And yes, Bob Hoskins, who's no longer with us, was a fantastic Mario, and that's where I would go. But if you want another take, so I have a toddler, which means I'm watching a lot of movies that I typically don't want to watch.
Yeah.
And I have seen the movie Cars about 7 million times in the past week.
Yeah.
And in that, why can't I think of his name? I always forget it. Tony Shalhoub does the voice of an Italian car called Luigi.
Yep.
It would be the perfect Mario voice.
Yeah,
would be
I can get behind Tony
phenomenal.
Shalhoub.
Yeah. You know what? Tony Shalhoub, I could see it. That's not bad. That's not bad.
So,
yep.
yes, it's not going to bring Chris Pratt fans to the yard. I don't know if there's people that follow Tony Shalhoub around all the time on all his projects, but it's a perfect voice for what I think Mario should sound like. But here's the thing, and I did tweet this out, and this is how I feel. Do I think Chris Pratt's doing a good job? No. This is better than what it was before. It's gone from he rolled out of bed and was like, oh shit, I got to record Mario lines in a couple hours. Mushroom Kingdom, here we go. There we go. Got it in one.
Yep.
That it was that in the last trailer. Now, as somebody else pointed out, he just sounds like he's doing a bad impression of Linda from Bob's Burgers. At least it's a voice. I think right now it's a big deal to everybody because it's all we can hyper focus on. But I think the reality is once the movie's out and you're watching it, is it going to be the highlight of the movie? No. But you'll get captivated by the magic of the movie.
Yes.
You'll get caught up in it.
Yes.
And it will be fine. And you will either love the movie or hate the movie for a completely different reason.
I agree.
Like, that's what it'll be.
Totally agree. It's fine with that's kind of what I'm saying when I say I'm fine with it. I just don't think it's as big a deal as everybody thinks. It's not going to save it. It's not going to ruin it. It's just going to be there. So anyway, that's
and
coming.
it's sad that it's a talking point. It's sad that it's a talking point because this movie looks really good.
Yeah.
Like really, really good. And the performances that are solid, like I heard Jack Black as Bowser and I was like, not in a million years is that going to work. It's excellent.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's perfect. I think they're modulating him a little bit, making him a little crustier, lower, something, but that's fine. We mentioned they show a bunch of Kong stuff. Diddy Kong's in the audience. Daisy, or what's the girl with the pigtails that you play in the third one? Can't remember her name. She's in it. Like you mentioned, Crazy Kong. I think the fan service stuff in this thing is going to be thick as a brick. I think that it looks like there's going to be genuinely funny moments. Like, I don't know what else you could ask for here. So I'm trying to be I'm on team. Let's wait and see with this one.
I think this movie looks like it's going to be pretty solid. It's got Mario doing plumbing. Honestly, that's one of the things I wanted to see more than anything. Like, I want to see him being a plumber, and there he is looking at a faucet real intently, and that's what I want. That's what I want from Mario.
Yep.
So
I don't want to be captain of the negative brigade, but I don't like it might be fine. The very self-referential, like, cause when Luigi's getting interrogated, and he's like, "What? I don't know a guy with a hat with this first initial on it and my name." Like, he's referencing that it's idiotic, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like a wink and nod to the parents watching, like, or something. You know what I mean? But not really, because all the parents are probably old enough to have played Mario. I don't know. There's just something about that's like, you're breaking fourth wall quite a bit to be like, what is this goofy world we're in? But like, the characters just wouldn't react that way. You know what I mean? It's like written by an observer, not by a character. I feel like there's a lot of that in there, and that's not my.
There may not. Yeah, you might be right. It's hard.
A lot of people will like that. I won't like it that much.
Trailers are hard to say until we get to see the.
But it's hard. It's hard to say. We should wait and see. And it certainly looks like a visual feast. So.
You know what I really like though is this music treatment right here at the end. I'm going to turn this up so you can hear it. Here we go. Listen to this. I like this bit. Wahoo! I like that. That's not the wahoo, but the part with the music.
I know the wahoo kind of ruined it. Like, I heard the reverberating in my brain during the part you were trying to show me. But yes, the cinematic. We have an orchestra playing Super Mario.
Yeah, there's something about that. The Indiana Jones trailer dropped today did the same thing. It took the indie theme and just stretched it.
It's got to do all the drum hits that every trailer does.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've inserted a drum beat between every note of this well-known theme. It's definitely the new trend these days.
We may as well
or playing it slow and leaving off the last note. That's maybe my least favorite trailer trope.
Right. It's so epic that last note doesn't get hit.
Yeah. Last note gone because you know it. You know it already.
Yeah.
Whether it's that, they also do it with dialogue. They did it with like the Lightyear movie when it was like to infinity, and then it just ends. It's like, shut up! What are you doing?
That reminds me. That was the weirdest part about the Transformers trailer. I know we already talked about that in the pre-show. Not to bring it up here, but they did that because it's a Biggie song, I think. And it's like, if you don't know, now you know, N-word. But like, they just leave the N-word part blank, and I'm like, why is this in
Wait,
a
was that bit? I
trailer?
thought that was an old 70s song, the one in the
Guardians. It was
3.
Biggie. I think that's what it was.
It sounded old to me, like 80s something. I could be wrong. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Yeah, I gotta pick that up. It reminds me of that comment of like, it's leaving something off, but in a very different context. That was just like, this is awful.
Well, here's where they do it with. So in the indie trailer, they do this with the indie theme.
Yeah, there you go. They left
Yeah.
that. It's supposed to be da-da-da, like the last part of the phrasing.
Oh, I'm excited about that movie, though. I shouldn't be. I just am.
The new way to feel epic, don't play all the notes.
That's
Make
right.
the audience fill in the notes. It's like epic jazz. It's about the notes you don't play.
That's right. We sort of touched on it, but there was also a Transformers Beast Wars trailer that Bo was referring to, and that hit today as well. Today was like weird trailer day, last day and a half. Very odd. All these trailers
we got
landing.
Guardians 3, and we got Indiana Jones 5, and
dude,
Yeah,
Guardians 3.
Guardians 3 trailer is dark.
It is
dark.
dark.
I did not expect it to look like just a sorrowful thing. But
I know we
man,
got
they
like a
went dark
sad.
with it.
There's some sad, carryover from Endgame and stuff that we have to deal with. So I knew that was going to be a part of this, but I knew we were getting like it looks like a Rocket Raccoon origin story, which is dark in its own way.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Oh, I'm so excited about that movie.
I'm excited for it too. I just, I was expecting more how it ends with, Drax talking about killing one person as a joke.
Yeah.
That funny chestnut just murder. But I was expecting more of that as the theme. I wasn't expecting like people sobbing and talking about like one final ride and bodies getting carried and "We are Groot" getting said again, which Groot died the last time those words got uttered, and
James Gunn's going over to be Mr. Whatever Feige.
He's the new Feige over at DC.
Feige over at DCU or whatever at Warner Brothers. So,
which I am stoked about. I can't wait to see what that turns into.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's just gonna kill off the characters to be like, "Yep, they're never coming back. They're done. All Guardians die."
I mean, he did say this is the last movie with these Guardians. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be surprising if he was like, "No, I'm ending it.
Yeah.
I'm ending it for sure."
Now
if
they'll
you've
do
seen his other work. He's not shy about killing off characters.
I watched the holiday special, and I'd be down for a Drax Mantis buddy cop movie series.
The holiday special was so nice.
It was nice. It was silly, short, and fun.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked the music more than I thought I was going to like it. Like the original songs in there were great, and I thought just had a nice thing going. And I think Kevin Bacon's he's cool to even want to bother with this. It was great,
and it had some nice little lore drops in there. Yeah. Like it wasn't empty. It wasn't just like, oh, these characters celebrate Christmas. We found out things we didn't know. I thought it had a real heartwarming ending as a result of it.
Yeah,
like it made me care about Mantis, who was just like previously a character in the background, and like made Mantis awesome.
Yeah, she's underused in the first two movies or second movie. She wasn't even the first one, but she is my MCU crush. I love Mantis. I'll admit it. Super crush on her. Don't know why. Something about her. It's not her antennas.
She's great.
I don't know what it is. She's great though.
It's not her antennas. It's okay if it is.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
You can be into antennas. We're
it's
not
the bug
it's
part.
A safe space.
I don't want anyone to think I'm weird.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you play that sex chess game that someone gifted you? Did you decide to go for it or no, Bo?
No, I didn't. You turned me. If there's a chance, I would have registered it. That picture you sent made me. I was like, I gotta find. There's a guy spitting around on his penis inside some other person. I don't know what.
Yeah,
That's
with
not
a
the
dirty
important
butt,
part.
with a poopy butt.
The important part is that he has a butt flap in his latex outfit, and his butt is like if he didn't wipe for 2 weeks, there's just shit all in the ass crack.
Yeah, he had a poopy butt.
What's going on here?
Yeah. That may have sealed the deal where Bo will never play sex chess.
I mean, Evil Boobs Corporation or whoever's making that game. Wow.
Yeah. Good
They
luck.
need to learn about the cool move of taking a shower after, and then you solve that problem right away.
DLC, you got to buy the sex shower to play sex chess.
That's right. Final note: Valheim Mistlands is an open beta. And will release soon.
This is just personal. I'm very excited about it. There's not. Well, we've waited for like almost 2 years for some sort of big biome update. So
this is it.
Just as a PSA to all you Valheim lovers, in case you missed the news, Mistlands is in beta. public testing, I should say, and that update should be anytime now. So
I just
exciting.
checked the that will hit the Game Pass version as well, according to what I'm reading here.
I believe so, yes. And what's nice about it, because it's not just a new biome, which would come with new crafting materials and items, but you actually get some necromancer spells, like raising skeletons for your own to control, and some fireballs and crossbow bolts, and apparently the biome is quite robust and things to discover. I'm very excited for that. So I think it's going to be more than just a smallish update. I think, given that it's been a few years, expectations are kind of high for what's going to be in this. I'm stoked.
You think Crofton and Mike will play again?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's something we've been discussing that we haven't played a lot of games together for a while. We've just gotten busy and all that, and we've all had our turns with COVID.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy that game quite a lot, and yeah, new content, please. Like that's kind of why we stopped, because we had mined it for everything it had. So
should be nearing 1.0 in general, right? Like it's been in early access for a long time.
So all the missing biomes are in the game. You just can't do anything in them, so it's just blank. And that was Mistlands, Ashlands, and the Deep North. So it's been 2 years since early access. We finally got one biome. So at this rate, it'll be 4 years by the time we get the other two.
Damn.
I'm hoping it's a bit faster going forward, but I don't know. Certainly the number one complaint and grievance of Valheim is like, holy shit, like what's your idea of early access? A decade? So
This is a long time, feels like, for that game.
Yeah.
But they made a lot of money.
They went from 5 people to a full team of people, and they made a ton of money. Yeah. They sold a lot of copies. It was like Game of the Year for like PC Gamer and stuff. Like they sold a lot of copies.
Yeah,
it's really good. Blizzard might be doing their own version of it, and I'm kind of excited to see what that might be.
It's still more of a product than Star Citizen.
That's true. I put up a joke on Twitter earlier that showed a little baby in one photo. It says, when you first backed Star Citizen, and then a picture of a very old man on the verge of death that says, you when 1.0 finally comes out. That's how that game feels.
By the way, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to make a joke about it. Pre-ordering Star Citizen is an investment in your children.
Yeah. Yeah. That pre-order is the worst. It's thousands of dollars. You're just paying to keep a company alive that doesn't.
It's really weird. It's still weird to me, but whatever.
But on that note, I actually did read a news article about Elite Dangerous. So there's some alien invasion that's been like quite a while in the making in terms of the ongoing story in there, and they're invading next week. So there's going to be a lot of like, I guess, dogfighty type missions.
Really?
And that kind of got me, like, I have to wait to see what that actually is going to look like. But that kind of got, one of the things about Elite Dangerous is, there's dogfights and stuff. It's not that interesting. It's okay. But if there's a whole event, and it's not tied to an expansion that they've been working on for like at least a year in sort of in-game lore, I was like, I might jump in and check that out. If there's just if I don't have to do trading,
yeah,
I can just get in and get a ship and just like blow up some enemy invaders. And I think there's actual stakes in terms of they blow up space stations and stuff. So there's a whole sort of campaign going on with it. Just
people weren't happy about the ground stuff that they released. That didn't go over well. I guess there's like a first-person shootery.
Well, at launch it didn't go over well. I can't imagine it's super great, but it, I think it's been. I've seen some comments that things are more ironed out now since it's been like at least a year or so.
Gotcha. Well, we'll see.
I don't know, but that would be another reason to dip my toe back in. Oh, and the other thing about that game is they're going to stop supporting console updates.
Oh,
consoles are standing still where they are, and they're just focusing on Windows PC exclusive.
Interesting. Forward. It's like the opposite. The Hackin. What was the name of the mech game? What was that called?
Hawken.
Hackin.
That game was kind of rad.
Hawken was rad. I liked Hawken a lot, and it left PC. They abandoned the Steam version and just went full console, which I still don't get why.
I think it still shows up. You can't play it, but it still shows up in my Steam library.
You can install it even. You just run around and no one's there, and they never did bots.
Yeah, there it is. Hawken.
Hawken was cool.
Yeah,
Hawken had potential. I'm telling you, it was fun.
It was neat, but there's other mech games now, I guess, to try and play.
Yeah.
But I think the thing with Elite, this is just a guess, but I'm pretty sure console populations are probably nothing. That it's not worth their time to even work on.
It's a Game Pass
You might
game.
hear it and go like, "What?" And it's like, for the 5 people that played on console, that would be my guess.
Yeah, who knows?
And yes, Elite Dangerous has a VR version, so when I check it out, I can play the VR client, and it's the same game as non-VR people. So
yeah, Jesus wept. Exactly.
Jesus wept. I can't do it like Dean. I wish I could do it like Dean Pelton. The way he does it is so grating. And Jesus wept.
Yeah.
Hang on. Maybe we should play it.
I don't have it here, do I? Is it a handy thing?
Dean Pelton. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
I was working on
4 minutes. I just want the clip.
Yeah, we need just the clip. I've been working on a Jordan Peterson impression. I don't think I'll ever do it on the air, but I've been working on one. That guy's he's got a weird voice, so it's kind of fun to try.
Hello, he's like Kermit the Frog. There's one clip. I don't think it's the best one where he's screaming, but yeah.
Well, let's see what
that's
you got.
the first one though when he says it the first time.
Is this it then? Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, here we go. So I'm bringing this up. Bringing it up. I'm muting it. Okay, here we go.
And Jesus wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer.
Oh my Lord, that thing is so big on his head.
That's Bo every time he plays a VR game.
It's not the VR in that episode of Community. That's what we're talking about, listeners. Is not like current gen. It's like 90s era VR.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Keith David's character in season 6 sells these machines, but he lives out of his Winnebago because nobody buys them. And to delete a file, you have to take the file, put it in water, and choke it to death.
Wow.
And everyone's like thinks it sucks, but Dean Pelton's like, "Oh my God!" And Jesus wept, for I can change the size of a font by stretching my hands.
Yeah.
And yeah,
he's one of the best characters of all time. I love him. I see him in other things, and it's all I can think of is his Dean character.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
That's his identity.
Yeah, his identity. Very nice.
Oh, by the way, because John is a big fan of the pun. How is the Dean pun after 100 episodes of almost every episode him making some kind of Dean pun with his name every time?
I've never liked it, but I would miss it if it were gone.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of the point because he's not meant to be a clever or funny character. He's meant to be an annoying, an annoying weirdo but lovable character. And yeah.
Claire, that was not Jordan Peterson in that video. That was a whole different person. Just for clarity.
Jordan Peterson's like, I think I know everything, but I don't. Or wait, I do. But it's the people who want to cancel me.
Yeah, he only eats steak and water.
Suck on this Twitter. No, what does he say?
Yes, sons of bitches. Whatever he says. The guy's a
we'll see who cancels who, Twitter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's pretty good. He's back on now, so I guess he's having the time of his life.
Musk,
well, let's get to this here email we got.
Let's not talk about that shit.
Yeah, screw that guy.
That's a good question.
I have an email from this went talktothecore@gmail.com from Neil, who says, "Hey guys, having finally been able to acquire a PS5 disc edition, I'm feeling sorry for those who picked up the digital only edition when the console was harder to find. The few Sony exclusives are insanely expensive on the digital store. For example, I recently grabbed Gran Turismo 7 for $57 at a local retailer, yet the digital store version is listed at $125 in Australian dollars. So it's not US. And this pricing seems consistent across exclusives. Is the digital edition just there to rip people off, or am I missing something? Love the show." Neil, you have run into the an Australian problem. I'm not saying there are other parts of the world that don't have this too, but that disparity is not that isn't happening here. If I buy Spider-Man for $59 here digitally, it is also physically for $59.
Although I will say physical editions of games are more likely to go on sale than digital.
100% true. 100% true. But there's no, at a baseline when there's no sale happening on either, here it's 60-60. I don't know why over there it's 125 digital.
I think Australia has video game problems.
Yeah, they got weird laws
So
and stuff.
one thing, I mean, I'm not up to date on any of this knowledge, but I often see like, oh, there's this game that's $30 in your country, but it is 552 Australian bucks. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like I've just seen lots of complaints about the Australian video game pricing situation that I think it might be uniquely Australian issue because
Very much so, yeah.
even here it's pretty 1-to-1 with the States when there's sales and whatnot. It's
Mm-hmm.
just there's like a 25% markup on in Canadian dollars,
Yeah.
or something like that. If it's 60 for you, it's probably 80 for me. Something
Right.
like that.
But you're not
It's
paying,
also
yeah.
worth mentioning that them being the same price is a little ridiculous too.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
like
I
the
agree.
pricing in general is kind of shitty. Like a digital version of a game should never be the same price or more expensive than the physical one.
Yeah.
All software is a scam.
But
It is. They're
You
doing
know,
it because they can. If they
You write a set of instructions, and it's like one type of instructions will make billions, and one type of instructions everyone will shit on and make $2 or something.
Yeah.
Like it's
No, you're totally
the
you're
actual
right.
value. You know, if Scott eats a banana and I eat a banana, will probably be fed to the same degree relative to our biology. You know, it's not like
Yeah.
someone can take a banana and just make 1,000,000 bananas from it, or $1 million from what single banana that they grew in their garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
No, you're right.
IP, infinitely exploitable.
No, it's true, but I also think that the division between digital and physical early in those days, I think publishers were really hesitant to set any precedent about digital being cheaper. And the PC, you get more of that because it's almost all digital. Nobody's buying discs for their computers anymore.
I think it just counts for launch nowadays, right? Like it's not to undermine launch, but
Right.
like after a year, anything goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you're just going to be more flexible over there. But on consoles and stuff, it's always kind of been a problem. But this is a Australian issue specifically to this email. This is not a worldwide issue, although I'm sure some territories have similar problems. But I don't know why you guys have that. I'm not an expert in it, but it's kind of effed, man.
It's such a weird take. You know how toilets rotate a different way south of the equator?
Yeah,
That's real, right?
it is real.
no,
That's
Yeah,
not
it
a
is.
flat Earth thing.
it's not. No, it's not.
I thought it was real.
No, it's not real.
Hold on, I got to look this up. It's not that I don't trust John.
We have
I do.
Australians in the
Just
chat
because
room
The
yelling.
Simpsons said it doesn't mean it's true.
No, that's not where I heard it.
Cigarette says they don't have toilets in Australia.
All I know is when
That's
I was
not
in
true, they don't have
China,
toilets.
the water went the other way, and that's not even below the equator. That's like straight across from. I mean, it's not
Sorry,
quite
I
as.
brought this up.
Hold on, flush
Wait,
direction.
in China it goes the
Yeah,
other way?
but that could be for other reasons. It may not have anything to do with. I don't know what the reasons would be. So, which direction does toilet water swirl at the equator? Okay, different hemispheres.
It doesn't. If you flush a toilet directly on the equator, they all explode.
Okay, here we
It's
go.
to do with the hemisphere.
Here we go. If you lived your life in toilet ignorance so far, you should check out the drain. Okay, a myth which has garnered a surprising amount of attention is that the direction of your drain swirls largely dependent on which hemisphere you live in. The theory was untested, but then some dude, using a kid's portable pool, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this confirms John's take. I don't know why when I was in China, which is not below the equator, so there's no equator part of this, why the water went the other way. It was probably because of, I don't know, like the water pulled differently, or I don't know. But I was something I noticed. I came home and went, oh, okay, it is different. And then that stuck with me, and I never dumped the myth from my head. But you're right about the equator stuff.
So
for sure.
Xanthidarium has, I think, a good response. Water will naturally swirl in opposite directions depending on the hemisphere, but some toilets induce a swirl, which overrides the Coriolis effect. And I think the Coriolis effect is what I'm referencing.
My Corioluses are both cracked and bleeding right now. It's too cold outside. I need to
Oh
put some
boy,
lotion on.
that's rough. Look at you powering through the show with that.
I do what I can. All right. Well,
Okay, but what was the point? The point was I
Something's-
think you're sorry, Australia. I think you're just experiencing a bit of upside down world.
yeah.
Take it from a Canadian. We're like upside down America sometimes when we're talking about things like you call out sick. What the hell is that? You
Yeah.
call in sick.
Yeah. Out sick and
But
sick.
you know, I think I've never seen video games cheaper than online unless it was bargain bin business.
Yeah, it's very weird, but I think it's exclusive to your territory. All right, send those emails. We'd love them. Talk to the core at gmail.com. You can also send us your short texts at 801-471-0462. It is time for a mashup. We are hurtling through the final part of the year. And we have one here called Lightsaber Penis. All right. Now, Jamie did his poll like usual, and the poll came out with interesting results. Currently, Scott, myself, 53% of the vote. Bo has 39. John, a mere 8.
John, how does it feel that some people believe that you would take out your penis and pretend it's a lightsaber?
I don't think that that's what that reflects. I think it reflects that they don't think I would talk about it on the show.
Oh, I see. Well, 8% of people think you would.
Yeah.
So there's somebody someplace with their toilet going wrong.
I think that I don't think I'm the smart bet, but I like lightsabers.
And you like penises.
You like penises. Yeah.
I was like, I really walked myself into a corner with this sentence.
There was no getting out of that.
Wrong with liking penises.
So I think there's a decent chance that I might have said it.
Yeah,
I might have.
Well, let's find out.
I just don't think it's as good as you guys. You guys really like talking about penises.
Well, let's find out who it was this week and whose bet was right. And I'll play it now. Here you go.
Oh, Can you lean over and lick it, like the tip of it?
Ew, where the little butthole is? What's that about?
Yeah, sometimes it's not what we do, but it's what we do after what we do that really matters.
That's what my mom used to say. It's not about the dump you're taking. It's about the toilet paper you pull the right direction, she'd say.
Really? Is that real? That sounds real.
Momism,
yeah, that's a momism. She says it's not about how you poop, honey. It's how you wipe.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When are we going to see the guy with the tall hair? Who's that guy? He's your discount Guile. Can't remember his name.
Heihachi?
No, who's the one with the really tall hair?
Why do I think it's Jake?
I don't know.
Is it Jake? Oh, Paul.
Oh, Paul. Jake Paul. That's why.
You sounded so disgusted by the idea of me saying Jake. You're like, no, it's not stupid Jake. Yeah, it's Paul, John. Yeah. Come on, get with it. Why didn't you know?
I had a friend growing up who was half Lebanese, and he'd call me a dirty Nazi, and I'd call him a dirty leb, and that was okay.
A dirty leb?
We were cool with it. Yeah.
I thought you were going to go full, let's put it this way so it doesn't sound bad. You were going to say moisture remover cabeza, which translated is, I'll say the two words separately. Moisture remover would be, what do you use when you get out of the shower?
Oh,
what do you? Towel.
Moist.
Yeah.
So a towel.
Okay, don't keep walking into it. You are just. I'm watching you just pick up a shovel and just vigorously start digging.
We're playing with dynamite. It's like we're 3-year-olds and we're like, well, what is it? We start playing drums with sticks of dynamite here.
Everybody should be wiping.
Yeah,
I know
wipe.
Bo is into alternative methods.
Look, if you want to know about my wiping, because I definitely do. I'm going to make some listeners mad if I talk about it here. Fine. I do a little dip.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Wait.
What's a little dip?
What's a little dip?
I don't like dry wiping.
Okay.
So most of the time, like, I will full shower. I don't have a bidet, so I will full shower after every poop. I don't like dry wiping.
Paul sucks.
Yeah, Paul sucks.
I don't even think the name's the worst part. I just think he's a bad character.
I think the hair is the worst part.
The hair is the worst part. The hair contains another character that we haven't met yet.
A lesser character.
Yeah, eventually they're going to reveal who's under there. But
if there's like a pixie in his hair called Todd that gave him advice, that would
Todd.
Be awesome. Paul, and then it'll be Paul and Todd.
Yeah, the Adventures of Paul and Todd. I'm looking forward to that spinoff.
When you have to poop while we're doing the show, you have not come back with wet hair.
Yeah, no, you can just shower your ass. Like, you don't have to do.
Wait, so when you've gone to poop during break time on the show, you poop, then you run the shower and just stick your butt in the shower?
Yep, leave the shirt on, fold it up over my head, whip the pants down, clean the butt.
I don't even know what to say.
I can't sit here knowing there's like skid mark juice in there. It's got to be clean.
Yeah, he's a good looking guy. You'd make out with him, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You'd touch wiener.
I think so. I don't know.
Bo would touch wieners. Of course
I don't. I don't
Depends on what led up to the kiss, really.
Maybe.
What if he said, Bo, I want to play lightsaber penis. Do you want to play that with me?
Probably not.
Okay. All right. I just want to know how
but
far.
Like that, if a girl came up to me and said, "I want to play lightsaber penis," I'd be like, "I don't know about this person."
That's just ridiculous.
Well, that would be weird though,
one
because
person with the lightsaber.
Right, that's the single lightsaber.
Still play lightsaber penis with one lightsaber. Don't you guys know the rules?
Yeah, but then what is she there for? You can do that by yourself without the girl asking you.
Yeah, what is?
Well, you could play solitaire version as well.
I don't remember any of that discussion.
Yeah,
None
I
of
don't
it.
remember.
I mean, I almost feel like I got AI duped. Like somebody made an AI fake conversation about us.
I think there's some cutting in there. I think.
Well, definitely.
I think that first little bit where John's like, "Please lick it," and you're like, "What, the butthole?" I feel like those are two different contexts. I feel like those are two different conversations that got put together into one line.
I don't have any memory of any of it, but thank you, Jamie, for keeping history alive and doing these. We got more leading up to the end of the year, and I'm very excited about them. Big thanks to him. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. I'd like to thank some patrons who joined since we last spoke. Doug, Kenneth, Ivan, and Casual Terror. I think we already mentioned him last week, but I'm throwing him in again.
Ivan the Casual Terror?
No, I just Casual Terror by himself. I think I
Yeah,
I think I had him before.
Yeah, we did. Casual Terror.
Yeah, Casual Terror. He was here last week, but you know what? I'll say your name twice. I don't mind. If you want to be like these guys, never get commercials, get pre-show content every day or every week, and monthly benefits. I know, every day.
Got promising big.
Yeah, sometimes. And also some occasional bonus stuff that you just don't get anywhere else. Go check it out. That's at patreon.com/core show. And if you're looking for the website with everything else there, you can find it at frogpants.com/core. I think that's it. Do we have anything else we're going to work on some kind of end of year stuff. We probably should do that this week just to come up with our plan for like what the format of it will be. But, you know, our favorite games we finished, our favorite games we played but didn't finish. I don't know. Whatever the categories are going to be.
I just start looking through your catalog. You both have this tally running of who finished the most games.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I got to put the tally together. Yeah.
Yeah, I've lost. I'm sure. It's fine.
I think what did we do the year before? We picked our favorite games in certain categories.
Yeah,
I think we all just created categories we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Like I think we just did specific categories for us.
Yeah, it may have been a little
best games we didn't play, best games we did play.
It was maybe a little scattered, so this time we'll be less scattered. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but we
give our notes. We can look at what we did.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear people at home and their thoughts on the games that that they loved. So let us know via email or whatever, because we'd love to hear some of that and read some of it on the show. I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening, for being here, hanging out with us, and hope you're all having a decent December so far. This 1st of December, 2022. For me, for Bo, for John, and for all of you. We'll see you next time.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
Just another day in the Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I used that voice